Yeah, this is case number 284 on the calendar in the matter of Patton versus Shumway Nair. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Young man, have a seat, please.
Mr. Patton, according to your complaint, the defendant and her 16-year-old son owe you for money as a result of the son's burglarizing of your home on several occasions. Their defense is that they do not deny, the young man does not deny that he entered your home illegally, but that on the date that you say the majority of the damage was done, somebody else did it. Right?
I believe so.
Right. Tell me the first time you noticed that someone had been in your home.
I hadn't moved in yet, but I had the house furnished and was about to move in. And I came to the house one evening to bring some linens from my son's bedroom, and I noticed a police car in front of the defendant's house. And I walked into my house and noticed that there was some damage done.
Tell me about the damage.
I saw some pizza in the carpet. I saw the pizza container in the trash can. A Nestle Toll House cookie container or package was completely consumed and in the trash.
Had you brought these things into the house?
Not the pizza. The cookies I had put in the refrigerator, right.
Okay.
A bottle of Goldschlager was gone, and a half a bottle of vodka. The bed in my bedroom, the linens were all brand new, had all been pulled down and looked like somebody had slept in it. Let me see, 2 towels were missing. My jacuzzi cover was open, and the jacuzzi was running. And I hadn't been there in about a week at this time.
So you had not moved into this home yet? You
Correct.
were in the process of furnishing it?
Correct.
Go ahead.
And I thought, well, I better go outside. There's a police officer outside. I better go out and report this. And before I could get to the police officer, the defendant's younger sister approached me and told me that her brother had shot my windows out with a BB gun. And I hadn't seen that yet. That was on the whole side of the house that faces their house. So then I approached the police officer, and he was there to take the BB gun from the defendant at that time. That's why he was there. And on another case, I guess, I don't know. And he came over to my house, and I talked to him, and they just, talked about arresting him or pressing charges. And the defendant's mother said, if they make restitution, we won't press charges or arrest the defendant. So
the defendant's mother came to you and said that she would make
the same evening, right? The same evening.
Tell me the best that you can recall the extent of the conversation.
Well, the defendant's stepmother or stepfather wanted the son arrested. I guess there's been previous problems, but the mother didn't. She assured me that I'd get the money back for the broken windows and any other damages.
What did he say? Anything?
I've never talked to him. Never have one time.
He was not there?
No, he wasn't.
Did you get an estimate for the windows?
The estimate was $605.
605. What other damage was there?
About a week after I moved into the house had appeared to have been broken into again. And this time, I noticed I came in the house and the computer was on. We had been out of town, and we came back and the computer was on. I went upstairs to my bedroom, and in my headboard of my bedroom, I keep a pistol locked. And that was broken open. And the bullets were missing, but the gun was still there. The spa cover had been torn with a knife. I checked my telephone, and I hit redial on my phone, and the phone number came up to the defendant's house. At that time, I called the police again, and they came out, and it was the same story. They tried to tell me they weren't in the house this time.
Who's they?
The defendant's mother and the stepfather.
Did you ever get the money for the windows?
Well, they had finally told me that they had the money for it, and to go ahead and have it fixed. When we came time to collect, that same day, the stepfather and the mother I guess they separated, and there was no money.
Let's have it.
Some of the accusations that Mr. Patton has are true. I admit to that. I made a bad mistake.
How many times did you enter his house illegally?
3.
Give me the dates.
I don't know the dates. I wasn't.
Well, what did you do the first time you went to his house?
The first time, my sister was playing in the backyard, and she threw a ball accidentally into the backyard. She couldn't get it, so I went over there. And the first time, I was just looking in the windows. Second time, I went over the door, sliding glass door was cracked open. I went in.
And what did you do in the house?
The cookie dough container that was opened, I had that. I ate that.
What about the pizza?
Pizza was not me.
Who was it?
I don't know.
Did you ever have anyone else with you in the house?
No, I did not.
Never?
Never.
But you slept in his bed?
No, I did not.
Did you sit in his bed?
No.
What else did you do?
That day, that was it. I just left.
You went into the house a third time.
Yes.
What did you do the third time?
Third time, the towels that he mentioned were missing. I was using those, and I went in his jacuzzi.
And it was just you. What time of the day or evening was this?
It was between 3:30 and 5.
Did you drink any of his alcohol?
No.
Did you ever make a phone call from his home?
No.
How old is your sister?
The one mentioned is 7 now.
You have another sister?
Yes, she's 12.
Did she ever go in with you into the house?
No.
So you did this all on your own?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes.
For what?
Stealing.
Stealing what?
I can't exactly remember. I was around 12.
Stealing from where?
Walmart.
Now, why don't you tell me about shooting out his windows?
That was out of boredom. It's a mistake I made, and I'm sorry.
When the police were called to your house on the day that Mr. Patton says the police were there, they were there, he indicates, to remove the BB gun.
Yes.
So there must have been a complaint from someone about you with the BB gun.
Before Mr. Patton was there, I had already been caught, and
Caught doing what?
I was, my stepdad found me in the jacuzzi, and I admitted that I did break the windows with the BB gun.
So it was your stepfather who called the police?
I don't know who it was.
Who called the police?
I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eddie Patton says next-door neighbor 16-year-old Christopher Shumway broke into his house and vandalized it. Christopher admits to using the jacuzzi and eating cookie dough, but says that's it.
Mr. Patton says he has not been reimbursed for any of the damage. Why not?
Well, he made that agreement between himself and my estranged husband. And when my husband left, he had already told me that he had given the money to Mr. Patton, which apparently was not so. And so when my husband left, so went the money.
Okay, well, it's not your husband's responsibility. This is not his child. This is your responsibility. Other than the $605 for the windows, Mr. Patton, what other damage did your property suffer?
The cleaning of the carpet for the pizza, and then the spa cover, which is going to have to be replaced. I haven't done yet.
How much was that?
$418
$418.
and 88 cents.
And I beg to differ with these figures.
Why is that?
Because when we had the conversation in his kitchen, he said that the spa cover was no big deal. He knew somebody that could repair that. And the quote on the windows was $325.
You have something on the windows for me, sir?
I have a receipt for that, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
Construction company. My brother-in-law works for that company, and he did the labor for free for me. So there's no labor charge on that.
He's never presented us with a receipt.
Well, you can take a look at it. He doesn't have to repair a spa cover. He was moving into a brand new house with brand new sheets, everything nice and neat. The invasion of someone's home by somebody, by a burglar, eating, messing up the place. There isn't a question in my mind that your son did all of that. Not a question. He knows it, and I know it. He may have been with somebody else. If he chooses to keep that a secret, that's totally up to him. But it is far too coincidental to think that someone else would come and do pretty much the same thing as your son did. Take a jacuzzi, not steal anything else from the house, and just come in and generally vandalize it. That's his MO. So you're suing for $1,113.79, and I'm awarding you that judgment. Listen, you're 16 years old. You've already had 2 experiences with the law. This one you got away with because, according to you, you committed no less than 2 acts of burglary. Whether you go into a house and eat cookie dough or steal a diamond necklace, the value of what you steal has absolutely nothing to do with the charge. The charge is still burglary, because the definition of burglary is breaking and entering into the dwelling of another with intent to commit a crime therein. And you did commit a crime by taking property that didn't belong to you. And I don't care, it makes no difference to me or the law whether it was cookie dough. So you got away cheap. Now, I don't know what happened to you as a result of your first theft. Probably nothing. Did you go to court on that case when you were 12 years old?
No, I was given counseling and community service.
Probably a big mistake. Maybe if they had sent you to juvenile hall for a couple of days, we might not have been here today. In any event, the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113 as requested. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was kind of exciting to move into a place that was brand new, everything new inside, and that kind of changed the outcome of that.
I won't do that again.
Justice is served.
24-year-old nursing assistant Sean Hamilton is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old nursing assistant April Seiler, for destroying his 52-inch television set. April says she caught Sean cheating.
This is Miss Seiler, who has a very bad temper. Mr. Hamilton, you and Miss Seiler were living together for several years. You have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, the defendant became irrationally jealous because she had heard some rumors of you fooling around at work. And one day she came to work, she confronted you, she saw you talking to this woman. When you got home from work, you found that she had destroyed a 52-inch television set. Is that right?
Yep.
So let me hear. That's what he's suing for. When did you destroy his television set? On what date?
July 20th, I think.
And tell me what happened on July 20th.
I went up to work and I've seen
His
him.
work.
Our work.
You work at the same place. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And he was talking to a female and I asked him what was going on and he said that they were just friends. And so I said, well, that's not what I've heard. So I went home and he stayed with...
And that's all that was the whole conversation?
Basically, and he stayed with the girl. And I went
And you said,
home.
that's not what I've heard, and you left?
I said, that's not what I've heard. You guys have been seeing each other. And she said, it's not like that. And he said, we're just friends. And I said, whatever, and I walked away.
Okay.
And then I went home and I was talking to my mom on the phone.
You were telling your mother what had happened?
Yes, and I was very mad, so I said, oh, I hate him, and I kicked the TV. And there's like a big hole, and my whole foot like went inside the TV.
So you destroyed the television?
Mm-hmm. And then a couple minutes later, he came home and said he was going to sue me and took the money that was left to get by with for the week and left.
How much did he take?
Maybe $300, $400.
And then whose money was that?
Ours.
When you were living together, you pooled your money?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
You pooled your money. So this $300 or $400, how much was it that you took when you...
It was approximately $300. But Your Honor, later on in the week, I did come back and I did give her some money.
How much money did he give you later on in the week?
He gave me money before the incident for bills, but he never gave me any money.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
The moral of the story is never fool around with a man's 52-inch television set.
And can I say another thing?
Sure.
This was like 2 weeks before football season, so...
You're not endearing yourself to me, Mr. Hamilton. Go ahead.
He's done this before in the past, and the girl confronted me and said that he had been asking her out, emailing her, he's been calling her on the phone, and I have, it's going to be 2 kids with him.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The two of you are not married.
No, ma'am.
You're going to have 2 children.
Yes.
Why aren't you married?
Money.
What do you mean money?
Well, I've offered to marry her, just go and get married now and then, later, we could have our big wedding or whatever, but you'd have to ask her.
Why didn't you get married 2 years ago?
Can't trust him.
You can't trust him enough to marry him, but you trust him enough to have 2 children with him?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton, my next question to you is, if the defendant came up to you and you were talking to this woman and she had some concerns about the relationship that you were having with this woman, why didn't you leave with her and go home and say, listen, it's really nothing. She's really just a friend. Stop getting upset.
All right. First of all, we work at a hospital, okay? It's like 95% female, so I mean, for me sitting with this girl, and she wasn't in her right state of mind or something because she came up and she started swinging at me. I couldn't really get anything out, because I'm like covering up, and then she didn't just walk away, she ran away. I'm at work, I can't just leave work.
Did you start swinging as soon as you came up?
No.
No?
No.
Now, you bought this television set in 1998, is that right? Mm-hmm. Whose money did you use?
It was mine. I had sold some rims. I had these wheels prior, before we even started dating or anything, and I got $1,200 for them. And then I saved up a little bit of cash and bought the TV.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, but he had been working off and on for the last 2-3 years.
I work on and off. I do lawn. I was doing lawn care at the time, and we get, you can only do lawn care in Michigan because it snows 6 months out of there.
So who was supporting the household when you weren't doing lawn work at the time you booked
I would do
television?
odd jobs in the wintertime, like plow snow. And
Were you working full-time?
Mm-hmm.
And she was working full-time?
Yeah. But I would bring it in a sufficient amount of money, enough to pay the bills and everything.
Where are you living now?
I live at my mom's right now.
You have a TV?
No, ma'am, I don't. I don't have nothing from the house.
I have no furniture?
Nothing.
He took the couch.
I had
and
one
sold
couch
it.
that was in the basement that our cats urinated on for 2 years.
Did you move in that house together?
Yes, but her name's on the house.
But you moved into the house together.
Mm-hmm.
Did you furnish it together?
Yeah.
And when he left, you kept all the furniture except for the couch that was in the basement?
He took his computer. And,
I'm talking about furniture.
yes, because now I'm stuck with the house and I can't afford it, so I'm going to have to sell it. And I told him I would give him the stuff, but for now it's me and my daughter,
So you have the furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. She can have the furniture, and I mean, I want my
He just
daughter.
wants a TV. You see
Yeah.
how important? Because
Well,
football
every time
season.
every time we got in a fight, she told me, get your TV and get the F out. I mean, I feel the TV's mine.
So you need some money to go out and buy a new TV, right?
That'd be nice.
Well, she had a temper tantrum. So when you have a temper tantrum, you got to pay for a temper tantrum.
And I have pictures of the TV too, Your Honor.
But believe me, sir, I have a husband. I know what a 52-inch TV is. Now, how much it going to cost you to buy a TV? You paid $1,200 for this one?
I have receipts here.
Can I see it?
Yes, you can.
How much was the television set? So you got a whole lot of other things here.
I paid $15.49 for my TV.
Okay.
And that model's not made anymore, so they compared it to the model that's out now. That's closest to it.
Well, you may have to get a 48-inch television. And I'm not even going to depreciate it because, Miss Seiler, you ended this relationship, or this relationship was ended, and it seems to me that over the 2 years or more that you were living together, you accumulated certain property that you're keeping. All he wants is his TV. You destroyed it. And he paid $1,549 for it, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davidson versus Millard. Step forward, please.
Retired scientist Maxine Davidson is suing her former friend, retired chemist Merle Millard, for credit card charges that were made on a trip to Mexico.
Miss Davidson, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and he invited you to go on a trip to Mexico in his camper, and he said you would have no expense, that he was going to pay for everything. And you claimed that while you were on this trip, you had to use your credit card for certain things.
Yes.
And you have not been fully reimbursed for all of the charges that were made during that trip, although Mr. Millard did give you some money towards your credit cards and towards the bills. You still have additional bills that you want him to pay for. And Mr. Millard says there was never an agreement that he would make all the payments for all the expenses, that he was supposed to just go together. Is that right, sir?
Correct. It was a
Okay.
50-50.
That was your arrangement
It's
with
my
her?
understanding.
No, look at me, sir. That was your agreement with her. You would
We
share
never
the expenses 50-50. Is that what you're telling
We
me?
never discussed it.
You never
To
discussed
my
it?
knowledge.
Okay, fine. So it was your assumption.
Correct.
You never had a discussion about it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maxine Davidson says ex-friend Merle Millard owes for credit card charges he made while they were on vacation in Mexico.
All right, so, Ms. Davidson, I'd like you to tell me how this trip came about.
I met Mr. Millard in September, around the 7th on my birthday, at a Kinko's. And we were both doing our life stories in film. And he was very courteous, and he wanted to meet me again to talk about England. He knows where I'm from, in the north of England. And we never did get to talk about it, but we went out to dinner several times. He didn't have any credit cards because he said he had been bankrupt a year before. So no problem. He gets a very good salary from the government as a scientist. And he would pay me back. Then the next thing is he invites us in his refurbished vehicle, a Winnebago motorhome. And
What did he say
he
to
said,
you?
bring nothing but yourself. We don't need anything. He had plenty of food, plenty to drink. The vacation would be on him because my daughter was visiting with me, and my grandson then of 10 months, he invited them also. She had never been to Ensenada.
Did they go?
Yes,
Your daughter
they
and
went.
grandson went.
Mm-hmm.
When did you leave on the trip?
Approximately the 21st of October,
Okay.
2000.
And how long was the trip planned?
We went for 2 days, but we stayed 6 because of the vehicle experiencing trouble with the motor. We were stranded there.
Okay, so tell me what happened when you were on
Yes,
this trip and what you spent money
Mr.
on.
Millard had no money, no credit cards. He had been bankrupt. He said, don't worry, I will pay you back every penny as soon as I get my money from the government. So, of course, what could I do? I used 3 credit cards, 2 of which were stolen or lost. I never did get them back. So when I got back to the USA, I ordered more. Fortunately, they were maxed to the limit, so there were charges on it, more than we made in Mexico.
What kind of expenses did you put on the credit card?
Okay, his finding the parts to put the motor back together, it was something to do with the overheating. The fan was the wrong size.
How much did you spend on the motorhome or the
Close to
Winnebago?
$1,000 with food and motor costs. Oh, I don't know. He wouldn't tell me.
Answer my.
Never showed
Well,
me
you
the
must have gotten the credit card receipts.
I did eventually get them.
How much was spent for parts? Didn't it say on your credit
They
card?
weren't separated. He had the cards with him, got a lift, thumbed a lift to get there.
Let
to
me see
where
the bills
there
from
was a
your credit.
Versatel.
Miss Davidson, let me see the bills from your credit card company.
They're itemized and copied. And
No,
there are
just-
bills
just-
with
just-
his
no, 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 no,
signature
no, no, no,
on
no.
the cards
Just a minute.
that he spent. Mostly it was for food and entertainment that I used my credit cards as well, because we were there 6 days.
How much did you spend altogether? And I'm not including the money for the restaurants in California.
Approximately around $1,000. He gave me $483 back in the U.S.
$739.71 is what you calculate for international charges. You say U.S. charges
Plus
$130.
the money spent in America. in
I'm
the
not
US.
talking about the money spent in America. Understand that. I'm taking off the dinners that you say. He said, don't worry, I'll pay you back. I'm not dealing with that. That's
Promise to
nonsense.
pay me back.
That's nonsense. So he owes, according to you, he still owes you $359. Okay. Now, Mr. Millard, tell me about this vacation that you took with Miss Davidson. Why did you invite her on this trip?
Of companionship with her, and also her daughter and her daughter's son. I enjoyed their company.
And did you have any discussion with her, as Miss Davidson says, you know, just bring yourself and a smile and a bathing suit?
Yes, what I told her is I would equip the motorhome with food, and I gassed it up $130, and propane and all that. And we never discussed beyond that. I brought $250 cash along for entertainment and food, in addition if we didn't want to eat in the motorhome. So there was never really any discussion that I know of about I was going to pay for it all. I never intended to. I would never do that.
Well, I don't know whether you intended to or not, but let's get down to certain basics. This trip was originally intended to take 2 days. Is that right?
No, I mean, I would never drive it 100 miles and stay 2 days. It's 6 miles to the gallon for my motorhome.
How many days did you plan on being away, sir?
At least a week.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that, sir.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't believe that you planned on being away for a week.
Or more, sure.
No, no, no. I don't believe that you planned on being away for a week, sir.
Well, I did.
Never.
I would
No,
never
no, no.
drive. You know, that's the cost of the motorhome is gas. So
fine.
why drive it all over? You go
So
somewhere.
you paid for gas. Did you have enough food in your camper for a week?
Sure.
For a week?
Sure.
For 3 people?
Sure.
No, 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 no,
yes,
no,
yes,
no,
yes, yes. Oh,
no,
honestly, yeah,
no.
of course.
No, no, no. And what happened to the camper? Because the camper broke down.
All right, now what happened is the fuel pump began
It
to
broke
fail.
down. I don't care what. It
Yes.
broke down. Don't explain it to me. I don't care
It
about
failed.
gaskets
It
and
broke
fuel
down.
pumps. It broke down.
Yes.
And how many days was it broken down?
3 days.
Right. And after it was finally fixed, did you go back home?
Yes.
Immediately. As soon as
within
it
a
was
day.
fixed.
I think.
And all during that time, those 3 days, you didn't have to buy anything else. Is that right? You had all
Well,
the food and all the drink for these extra...
No, what happened is we started going out, you know, eating out and boozing it up. And
Well, if you went out eating and boozing it up, you weren't paying because you only had $250
yeah, I
in
ran
cash.
out of that.
And you ran out of that very fast, so you were using her credit cards.
Correct.
Did you use her credit card also to pay for the fuel pump?
All right, there was $60. I withdrew cash, I think around $100. The fuel pump was $40, and the repair bill, the mechanic, was $60.
I asked you whether you used her money for that, sir.
Yes.
Now, she's not part owner of your Winnebago.
No, of course not.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $359. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Townsend versus Johnson-Jones. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Townsend, you own a car.
Yes.
And your car was parked in front of your house.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't see what happened, but all you know is somebody hit your car.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And one of these two people were driving that car that hit your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
October 19th, about between 6 and 7.
Tell me where you were.
I was inside my house, and I heard this big crash. I got up, went to the door. By the time I made it to the door, 2 of my neighbors were at my door saying, someone has just hit your car. You need to come outside. So I went outside, looked at my car, and it was smashed in on the front and just stuff all over the place. So I looked.
You mean debris?
Debris.
Car
That's
debris.
right. That's right. Debris was on the street and on my yard. But the second car wasn't anywhere around. So I went back in, called the police, went back out to look at my car again, and we seen debris going around the street.
So you followed the debris?
We followed debris around the street to another car, which was probably about, it was the next block. The next block, that car was there. It was all smashed in. It was not able to go any further.
Did you see anyone around that car?
I seen Miss Johnson and her baby. Her baby was in the back seat. Yes, ma'am. Her baby was in the back seat. She was standing on the outside. She was crying. She was all upset. She got her.
There was a baby in the car.
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Her car.
The baby was in the back seat. She got the baby, put it in a restraint.
Also in the seat, in the car.
In the car. Not in the restraint, in the car, on the back seat. She took the baby out of the back seat, put it in the restraint, and she, in the little baby car seat, she set it on the street, and I forgot, someone said, you need to get that baby out the street. So she got the baby out the street, and by that time, the police come. When the police come, Mr. Dennis...
this gentleman here?
Yes, this man here and his mother come up.
Now, he wasn't there when you first got to the scene?
No, he was not there.
Okay.
Okay, he was not there. He and his mother come up. The police officer was talking to Miss Johnson first. She was all upset. She was crying. When Dennis come up, the police officer was asking them, why did he leave? And he was saying that her father was trying to kill him. He had wrapped the seatbelt around his neck, and they were fighting. He was trying to get away from him, which made him put his foot on the gas and run into my car.
Okay. And that's all you know about this?
And that's all I know.
Okay.
So, well, there's one more thing. Dennis said that he would pay for my car. They said they would pay for it. They were sorry about it, but they never have. She has insurance on the car, but the insurance refused to pay for it because she was not the driver. He was, and he doesn't have any license. So that's why we're here today. I feel like they need to pay for my car.
Who wants to talk first?
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I was standing in the front yard. My dad chased him down the street and grabbed
Chased who down the street?
him. He was driving.
Is he your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he the father of this baby?
Yes, ma'am.
That was in the back seat of the car?
Yes. And the baby was in a restraint, but by the time she'd gotten there, I'd gotten the baby out of the car and was sitting in the back seat holding the baby. And then when the police were starting to arrive,
let's
I
start
took the
from the
baby.
beginning. Your father is chasing him.
Yes.
Chasing him from where?
From my house.
Where was the baby when your father was chasing him?
In the back seat of the car.
What was the baby doing in the car?
Because me and him and the baby were fixed to leave, but I went in the house, and when I come back out, my dad had started chasing him, and Dennis was leaving to try to get away from him.
Okay. You were planning to leave the house?
Yes.
Where was the car parked?
In the street in front of the house.
Who brought the baby outside?
We had just come to the house. We had been off, and we were going to go back off, but I was stopping at the house to get something, so I had just had
So
her
the
in
two of
car
you
with
had
me.
just driven to your father's house?
Yes.
From where?
I believe we were at the movies.
You went to the movies with a baby? How old's your baby?
She's 17 months.
So you don't remember where you were coming from?
No, ma'am. A lot of stuff happened that night.
No. Now, you were just stopping off at your father's to get something?
Yes.
The baby is in the back seat of the car?
In a car seat.
I hear you. The baby is in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Who got out of the car first?
I did.
From what side of the car?
The passenger side.
So Mr. Jones was driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I never got...
I didn't speak to you yet. And the car is registered in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
You live with Mr. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
At my parents' house.
And where does he live?
At his mom's house.
Does Mr. Jones have a valid driver's license?
No, ma'am.
No. So why were you letting him drive your car?
He bought it.
Why doesn't he have a driver's license? If he has enough money to buy a car, why doesn't he have enough sense to get a driver's license so that he can drive it?
I don't know. I don't...
Has he been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Has a DUI?
No, ma'am.
He owes child support?
No, ma'am.
Then why don't you have a driver's license?
I don't know, ma'am.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you ever have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and cooling.
Heating and cooling.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you made your money from to buy this car?
Yes, ma'am.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you filed tax returns? Look at me. When was the last year you filed tax returns?
Probably 99, 2000.
Don't you think you live in a country that has rules and regulations? Now, how would I know to ask you that question? Because somebody that's stupid enough not to have a driver's license and drive a car is also dumb enough to work and not pay taxes. And I say that to you, sir, because of the defense that you registered in your answer, which I find fascinating. I'm going to get to the thrust of this story a little quicker. You went inside, your father started to have an argument with the two of you, or just with him?
Him.
About what?
A statement that Dennis had made that he said was false.
You mean that since your father was doing something wrong?
Yeah.
All right. So they had an argument?
Yes.
And then Dennis did what? Did he run out of the house?
He wasn't in the house, he was outside.
Still in the driver's seat of the car?
Yeah.
So your father ran out and grabbed him?
I wasn't outside at the time.
Oh, now Dennis is going to tell me. So what happened, Dennis?
She went in the house, he come out, and he started fussing on me and stuff. So I crunched the car up, put it in gear. About the time I put it in gear, he was right here at my window, finna hit me. But I give it a little gas, and he grabbed my seat belt. And I looked down, when I, was going down the road, he was running right beside me. When I looked down to grab the seat belt off my neck, because he was pulling it tight on me. And when I looked down, boom, I hit her car, which her car was like 3 foot away from the curb and illegally parked.
That's his defense, Byrd. His defense is he's not responsible because her car was parked the wrong way on the street.
Oh,
that's his defense.
That's good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving.
And later today,
He said that he had gotten himself arrested for a mistaken identity, is what he told me.
He got himself arrested for a mistaken identity? I didn't know the last time I looked in the penal law that was a crime.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Townsend claims Leanne Johnson and her boyfriend, Dennis Jones, hit her parked car and fled the scene. Dennis says Leanne's angry father was chasing him when he lost control of his vehicle.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving. And you, who don't have a driver's license, who's not allowed to be behind the wheel, is not responsible. You want to explain that to me? If you weren't doing the wrong thing and driving a car, this wouldn't have happened.
That's true.
That's true. Oh, you have a picture of the damage to the car, please? This is not a new car, right?
That's right.
But you're entitled to have your car in the same condition as it was before
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wonderful over here hit it.
Yes, ma'am.
So even though it's expensive to put your car back into condition, you're entitled to it. How long have you been working at this heating and cooling company?
For about a year.
You paid in check or cash?
Cash.
Cash. Well, you better start saving your cash. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,692.05. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was thoroughly shocked.
Yeah, I feel bad that it happened.
My car was sitting in front of the house.
I'm sorry we can't get along with her now.
Minded its own business. When they were fighting, they hit my car.
Don't be driving.
Justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Moss. Step forward, please.
Nanny Gail Martin is suing her former employer, day spa owner Kimberly Moss, for non-payment of services rendered. Kimberly says Gail abused her 10-year-old daughter, Lauren.
Miss Martin, you answered an ad in the paper for child care and light housework that the defendant had placed in the paper. It is your claim that you worked there and you were not fully paid before she let you go.
That's correct.
Okay. The defendant says you were, in fact, fully paid. Are these the two children she was supposed to take care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you answer the ad and when did you start working?
I answered the ad the first day I noticed it was in there, and there were 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I started to work on, the first week was October the 10th, and the second week was October the 15th.
Okay, and what was the pay arrangement?
She told me, I told her what I got at my last job, and she said I paid $10 an hour. And after the first week, which was the Friday, but I had to come back Saturday, she only paid me the $300 from the first 3 days.
Well, whatever it was,
it wasn't enough because I had worked that first week.
The first week, how many days did you work?
4 days.
Is that correct?
I really don't remember.
Well, if you don't remember, then I have to rely on her. And the second week you worked, how many days did you work?
I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 3
And
days.
how much were you paid during that 2-week period? Yes, you were.
The whole time I worked there, she paid me $300.
Okay. How much did you pay her?
When she first came to my employment, we agreed that she would get $100 a day. And
Really, not $10 an hour?
No.
$100 a day, irrespective of how many hours she worked?
Right.
First week she worked 4 days, and you gave her how much?
Whatever it was, she
said you only gave her $300.
Well, that's not accurate. Whatever I owed her is what I paid her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Gail Martin says former employer Kimberly Moss owes for babysitting fees. Kimberly says Gail threw her 10-year-old daughter in the shower with her clothes on.
So, what happened the second week?
The second week, she was paid up. On the last day, her car broke down. She asked if she could stay with us overnight for a couple days because she didn't have transportation to and from work. And I said that would be fine until she got her car fixed. The first morning of the night that she stayed over, there was a problem. And what happened was I was in bed. My daughter Chelsea came running to me to wake me up, telling me that Gail had put Lauren, my baby, into the hot shower with her nightgown on. So I got up and ran into her bedroom, and there she was crying, cuddled up in the corner in the hot shower. So I got in the shower with her in my nightgown and blocked the hot water from her and adjusted the temperature, and to try to reduce the trauma of what had already occurred, took a shower with her, got her out, we all got ready for school, took her to school. That is why my secretary drove her home, because if I was to confront her about it, it would have turned out ugly. So I had my secretary relieve her from, that was the last day.
Did you put the child in the shower?
No, ma'am. I would never do that to a child under any circumstances. Never. And if this did happen, how come she didn't call HRS? That's what I'd like to know. When she told me she didn't have the money.
Which child was in the shower?
The baby, Lauren, was.
Lauren? Come up here. Tell me about the shower.
I was in bed and I didn't want to get up because I didn't feel good, and then she picked me.
You mean get up to go to school?
Yeah. And she picked me up out of the bed and put me in the shower, and she turned the hot water on with my nightgown on.
No question in your mind about that? Where was your sister?
She was in bed with me.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Okay, go sit down. All right. Ms. Moss, the plaintiff worked for you for 3 days, the second week.
Correct.
Did you pay her?
I do not remember the exact amount of time that she was under our employment.
Fine. Then I have to rely on her records for those days.
That's fine.
That she was. Now, at that point, did you fire her?
That day, absolutely.
That day, she was let go?
Absolutely.
Okay. You say not. Is that right?
No. She explained to me she was going to go to Daytona Beach with her boyfriend, and that her business that she just opened, her Kimberly's Day Spa, they do facials
Whatever.
and massages.
You were
and
told that your services were no longer
yes,
necessary.
because her business hadn't taken off like she expected it to, and that she couldn't afford it. This child that's wearing that nice little Sunday school outfit, that's not what they wore when I worked there. They dressed shamelessly.
What do you mean shamelessly?
They dressed in little Daisy Dukes with half their butt poking out the bottom, and little things with their belly buttons showing, and trying to go to school like that. They were, and makeup, and they were hellions.
And what about
they were 9 and 11, going on 17.
Go ahead.
I came back on the Monday to collect some money that she owed me from that previous week. Her oldest son was changing the locks on her house door. And I said, well, what happened? He says, don't expect to find any money here. We had a break-in. Our safe was broken into, but I didn't see any black powder anywhere. So he said, we don't have any money to pay you. So why would she have to do that if she paid me the week before?
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Ergo.
Okay. You work there according to your records, and since she doesn't have any records of her own, which she should have, a total of 7 days. I am crediting her testimony that your agreement was $100 a day, and that she paid you, according to your records, which I am crediting, $300, which means she owes you $400, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wagoner versus Rockema, step forward, please.
Truck driver Michael Wagoner and his wife Gabriella are suing their former landlord, foreman Shane Rockema, for destroying their furniture. Shane says the couple's accusations are ridiculous.
You rented a house from the defendant, is that
Yeah.
right? He had a piece of property, and there were 2 houses on the property. You rented one house. He lives in the other.
The back house is a garage that he made into a house.
For himself?
Yes,
And what was the rent on the house you were renting?
$550.
That a pretty good rent?
Very cheap.
Why do you think it was so cheap?
Because he was, before I lived there, he had a problem with some other tenants that were there, and they had major drug problem there, and so he offered it to me afterwards. And
Had you known him before?
I've known Shane for about 5 years.
And what you're suing him for is you say that he, while he was under the influence of drugs, tore down the walls in your house and ruined your furniture with dust.
Scratched up my furniture as well.
Tell me about that.
Well, on the 22nd of April, I came home and I saw a big old pile of debris out in my front yard. Kept on walking, and I walked up to the door. I opened up the door.
Of your house?
Yes, and I looked, and all the walls were torn out. Everything. I have pictures here to show that the walls were torn out.
Can I see it, please?
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, had you paid your rent?
Yes.
Do you have your rent receipts?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
I take the utilities out of the rent, and I pay them myself. So I pay $450.
But after this happened, you only paid him $200.
Because he told me, since all the problems that he had caused me, that I only have to pay half of the rent.
And you said what?
No, and I said, okay, that's fair.
Okay, so on May 1st, after this incident happened, you said, okay, that's fair. Here's $200.
Yes, because...
Okay,
Right.
I'm just
Okay.
understanding what happened. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and so when I saw that what he had done, he walked through the back door, and he gave me this strange look, And I said, what are you doing? And he told me, basically, he said, it had to be done. And I said, what do you mean it had to be done? You were working on the back, and now all of a sudden you come in my house without permission, without advance warning, and just start doing this with all my furniture here? And he said, it was the spur of the moment, his exact words. Because I asked him, why didn't you cover any of my furniture or anything? And I have my furniture, all of it, showing that it's damaged, right here, all the pictures.
I'd like to see it.
My big screen TV, everything. He did not cover nothing.
Okay, now I'm ready to hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I told the...
Look at me. Don't look down.
Okay.
Look at me.
I told the plaintiff that I was going to remove the wall from the kitchen to the living room and have some kitchen cabinets made up and do some light demo. We had talked about it months before.
When, immediately prior to April 22nd, did you notify him that you were coming in? Did you talk to him on April 21st?
No, it was 2 weeks prior to that, Your Honor, because I went to Colorado to see my mother. And before I went, I talked to him about it in his kitchen.
Fine. Now you get back.
Yes.
And you decide to do it on the 22nd. Now, the last time you spoke to him about it was before you went to your mother's. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you finish that job?
I did not finish the job because the cabinets had to be measured after the wall was down. So the guy had to come in and take measurements. And by that time, he was gone.
So what you're telling me, sir, is first you knocked down all the walls and then somebody was coming to take
Not
that
all
measurement?
the walls. I knocked some of the plaster off the front wall, and that's what you see there.
Why in the last 6 months have you not completed the house?
Because I don't need to go fast anymore. We agreed that if he stayed in the house while I was doing the demo, I would do sections at a time and complete them.
Sir, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. When somebody does work on a kitchen, first they have somebody come in and take measurements. They plan it out. What they don't do is they don't take down all the walls and then say, now I'm going to get somebody to come in, and now they're going to take measurements. Your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Wagoner, is that you accepted a resolution of this problem.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You let me finish. If you had said, I'm going to pay you your rent, I'm not accepting $200 for the damage that you did, then I would say to you, you have a claim. But when you accept a settlement, which is what you did, you're still stuck, but there's one thing that you're not stuck for, and you're not stuck for the fact that he trespassed on your property because you paid April's rent. And he has no right to come into your property without giving you adequate notice, which you did not do. Because the fact that you may have said to him, if I believed you, which I don't, listen, I want to do some demolition and some light work in the house. And people who live 2 feet away from you, you couldn't come in and say, listen, can you get your stuff together because I'm coming in tomorrow or in 2 days to fix it. I don't believe that. You had no business being there. Judgment for the plaintiff for $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 57 on the calendar in the matter of Whitley versus Clow. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat. You're welcome.
Mr. Whitley, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and there came a time when you suggested to her that she consolidate all of her credit cards into one loan.
Correct.
You did a consolidation loan for her.
Correct. It was from her Wells Fargo loan to my credit card.
And it was your understanding that she was going to repay that loan.
That's correct.
Why did you make that consolidation loan?
Well, the reason why we did that, we often talked about getting engaged and then soon to become married. And so she has an expensive car, and then she also had a high-interest loan with Wells Fargo.
What was the interest in her account with Wells Fargo?
It was about 24%. And I was offered a balance transfer at 4.9%. So we talked about the best way for her to reduce her debt, because I'm a student right now. I have plenty of my own debt, so we were trying to take care of hers. And so we verbally agreed that I was going to help her out, and she'd make me payments for $250 a month until it was paid off.
What was the amount that you transferred onto your credit card?
There were two loans. One was for $274, and the other one was for $1,773. There were two separate Wells Fargo accounts.
Did you have two separate Wells Fargo accounts?
That is correct.
Okay.
In addition to that, she really didn't have enough money, or she had money, but she didn't have extra money. And so what I did is I put her as a signer on the account. for your emergency expenses. And the emergency expenses that I have shown here is for coffee.
Well, that was stupid of you,
health.
sir. Don't get me involved with that.
Okay.
Now, did she make any payments?
Yes, she did, Your Honor. I have 2 copies of 2 checks that
Let
she
me
wrote
see
to
them,
me.
please.
And I also have the deposit, my statement.
So she made 2 payments, $275.
Correct.
I made 3 payments, Your Honor, and they were not for the credit card. They were to help him out.
Your Honor, you can see one of those.
Just a second. You made 3 payments.
That is correct.
Okay. One for $275, one for $250.
And check number 1106 in the amount of $330, which posted my account on September 3rd of 2001.
$330. And you gave that money to him for what reason, Ms. Clow?
I flew to Hawaii for his birthday. Those payments were a reimbursement for me going. Since it was his birthday, I was going to pay for my plane ticket out there and for the hotel. We also stayed in Kauai.
Which I paid for.
Which I paid him back for.
Just a minute. No. No. I don't buy that story. But I'll listen to the rest of your tale. Go ahead. I'll listen to the rest.
Okay, first of all, there was no verbal agreement made. He did this of his own free will. I was not in financial need. I was never late or behind on those payments. My car payment being expensive is irrelevant. Living at home, I did not have many expenses, as he is saying. I had the one expense of Wells Fargo and my car payment. And living at home, I had no renting.
What did you give him your account numbers for?
Because he wanted them.
What do you mean because he wanted them?
Well, first of all, we were dating.
My mouth is still moving. I don't understand because he wanted them. You say a lot of things in a relationship. You say you look great, your hair never looked better, where do you want to go for dinner? But not give me your credit card account number, babe.
Can I explain?
Yeah. Explain it to me so that I understand it.
Okay. The reason that I gave him the credit card is because he suggested to me that he would pay that balance. There was no agreement that I would pay him back.
Oh, so now, just a minute, you're changing the story. So you're saying now your defense is, so what I understand it, Ms. Clow, is that he paid off your credit cards as a gift to you.
That's how I perceived it, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what your defense is now. It wasn't before, but now that is your defense, that it was a gift to you.
Yes, and I...
Good! No, wrong. Wrong. I don't buy that for a minute.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Walt Whitley says ex-girlfriend Sarah Clow transferred a balance to his credit card and now refuses to pay.
Now, you have a counterclaim, let's get to it, for a return of your PlayStation and games.
That is correct.
Why don't you tell me what the counterclaim is about?
I purchased the PlayStation on December 5th of 2001 for myself and him to share. He refused to return it after we broke up. Since I never lived at his residence and that's where the thing was, I could not go in and get it.
Now I'll hear you. PlayStation and games.
Well, I was in Hawaii for my rotations, and I was going back to Reno for Christmas. Sarah met me in Reno, and so she spent Christmas with me. She gave me the PlayStation for Christmas as a Christmas gift. I have a card here dated 12/4/01 saying, I hope you will get something in Reno that you really like. And so you can ask her what she got me for Christmas then.
Well, she got you something in front of your house. She got something, and the PlayStation was put in your house in December, is that right?
That's in Reno, and I took it back up to Portland, where I live.
Okay. And when did you finally break up?
The 3rd week in January, Your Honor.
Okay, and between December 5th, when you bought this PlayStation, that's when you said you bought it, right?
I have the receipt to prove it right here.
I don't doubt that you bought it.
Okay.
Between December 5th and mid-January, the PlayStation remained with the plaintiff, is that right?
But I was staying the night at his house, so it was in my possession, but I did not live there.
Okay. Mr. Whitley, I want to tell you something. I think you should get down on your knees and look up and thank God that you got out when you did. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your counterclaim is dismissed, Ms. Clow. I find that the PlayStation was a gift and judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,633. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Walter Whitley appears to be kind and generous in the things that he says and does, but if things don't go his way, as in my relationship with him, he'll turn around and stab you in the back.
Don't ever share credit cards or help someone out unless you sign the dotted line and you get married.
That's case number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Dennis versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
All right, I have a claim and I have a countersuit. The claim is that, Miss Dennis, you bought a home from the defendant
Yes, ma'am.
on substantial acreage, 5 acres?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And it is your claim that there was a damaged bathtub.
A latent defect, yes.
Don't give me latent defect. There was a damaged bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And it cost you a substantial amount of money to fix that bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition, you claim that the defendant has embarked upon a course of harassment by calling Child Protective Services on your family, for which you also want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never made any calls to Child Protective Services. Is that right, sir?
This is true, Your Honor.
That the home that you purchased was purchased as one usually purchases a home. You had a home inspection, an inspector of your own choosing, and whatever defect was found should have been found by the inspector. He says, however, that you actually owe him money. You had left certain property with the consent of the plaintiff on the acreage in a shed, and it was the arrangement that you would take that property after the closing.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And that the defendant, in retaliation for the fact that you weren't going to pay her for this bathtub, locked the shed, couldn't get to your property. Subsequently, the shed was removed. She put your property at another location, and a lot of it was either damaged or destroyed.
That's true.
Okay. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's your claim.
Yes.
So, Ms. Dennis, when did you purchase the house from Mr. Pierce?
On January 22nd.
And when did you have the home inspection?
I have a copy of it here.
I'd like to see it.
It was done before we bought the home.
Of course. Stupid to have it afterwards.
This is the advertisement of the home.
No. I just want to see your inspection.
Your Honor, it claims 2 full baths, and being how one of the tubs was damaged, it was only considered 1.5 baths.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? That because the home was advertised 2 full baths and there was a crack in one of the bathtubs, he misrepresented the home to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, get a life. Byrd, would you buy a house where the report of findings said, visible evidence of wood-destroying organisms observed, wood rot and subterranean termites, wood rot, subfloor, under bathrooms, says damaged, tub, shower, and walls, damaged, deterioration, noted at tub, plastic tub, cracked right front corner. All right, let me hear your claim with regard to this bathtub, madam.
The bathtub was cracked all the way in the middle of the tub. It was hidden with a decorative non-slip strip. Basically, my father-in-law, who is also my realtor, considered it, saw it. It was a latent defect.
Wasn't a latent defect. You had an inspector.
The inspector could not find it because it was covered up.
The inspector shouldn't be an idiot. The inspector noted wood rot under the bathtub.
Because of the water damage.
Right. Hello? If there's wood rot under the bathtub, something must be leaking. My goodness, where is that leaking from? Let me take a look in the bathtub.
They thought it was from termites, ma'am.
Listen, that's not his fault. That's your inspector's fault. Sue your inspector, not him. I mean, I don't know anything about the mechanisms of a house. I know how to go in, turn on a light, turn on a faucet. That's what I know. Open a refrigerator, and occasionally, if rarely, turn on an oven. But I do know this, that when you buy a house, you have a complete inspection, and it's simplistic that if there's wood rot that he notes twice under a bathtub, then you go and you peel off whatever is there, the strips that you put in so that you don't slip and fall, you peel it off, and you say, that's where it's leaking from.
It was covered up, ma'am. And the home inspector was not allowed to peel off the tape.
Who said that?
Because it was his home. It was his home. And the home
Miss Dennis, you didn't look carefully enough, and stop blaming other people. Now, let's get to the next part of your complaint. The next part of your complaint has to do with harassment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did this harassment start before or after you locked the shed where Mr. Pierce's property was located?
We have an amendment signed by the contract at the closing that says that Mr. Pierce was not allowed to move his contents until the shed company came. The shed was not removed until a month later. The shed company also said that it was repossessed when it was picked up, which meant even though they would have kept his belongings.
Can you answer my question? The word is either before or after.
Before, during, and after.
So tell me when you locked the shed.
The 24th after I confronted him.
24th of what?
January, 2 days later after the closing.
Okay, 24th of January.
when I confronted him about the crack tub.
And he said what to you?
That tub's fine. My kids use it all the time.
Okay.
And I said, well, how come you didn't disclose it to the home inspector, the realtor, or anybody else about the crack tub? You know, maybe we could have negotiated a different price. Maybe I could, you know, just make me aware of it. He did not make me aware of it. My daughter could not bathe for
listen,
days.
what he said to you was, my kids use that tub all the time, which is probably true because there was so much water underneath that the wood rotted, and the tub was fine. But on the 24th, you confronted him, 2 days after you closed. When did you lock the shed?
The 23rd.
You locked the shed the 23rd after you discovered the crack.
Before.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
When I went to go pick up my possessions, which was on the 24th of January, the shed wasn't still locked. They advised me that there was a problem and that I had to deal with my realtor and her realtor at the time, which is her father-in-law. Well, in that event, I said to her, well, I came to get my Jeep and my stuff. She said, no, you're not getting it. She was even going to hold my Jeep hostage.
No,
so I told her that I will not do this. If you want, we could resolve this with the deputies. She did give me my Jeep. I thought I would let this blow over. I had already scheduled to go up north on vacation. I already had a scheduled pickup for Cook. Cook, this doesn't come.
You had a
scheduled pickup for the shed and the contents to be picked up.
What do you mean, this is a rented shed?
It's a rented shed, yes it is. I had to make 3 different plans, 3 different arrangements to have the shed picked up. Finally, Cook Shed agreed to have this shed repoed, because then that would be a base of action for them to go on and retrieve that property. There was no other way of getting it. They withheld me from getting that shed. I was willing to get it that week of closing.
You mean the week of the 24th?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
yes.
If I may, we signed a leased contract stating that Cook's shed would pick up shed and contents, not Mr. Pierce would come and pick up contents.
You were getting even. You were using the contents of the shed as leverage for the cracked bathtub.
Ma'am.
Miss Dennis,
yes.
I want you to listen. You know, that's a rather simplistic thing. He's got property on your property.
Right.
You come in, and 2 days later or the next day find out that there's a cracked bathtub, and you're angry. So you say, I'm not giving him his property back until we resolve the issue of this bathtub. You have to be honest with me, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roseanne Dennis says Terry Pierce misrepresented the sale of his home by camouflaging a cracked bathtub. Terry says Roseanne is holding his belongings hostage.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I was told to do that by my attorney.
Just a minute. I don't care whether you were told to do it, but that was, listen to me, Miss Dennis,
yes.
That's the drill. Don't give him his property.
Until I was able to serve him.
Until you get satisfaction with regard to the bathtub. Now, what happened to his property?
Ma'am, the thing of it is that I was told that basically he would not give his address to my realtor or his realtor or anybody else so we could find him so I could serve him court papers. I had to hire a private investigator to try and find out his address because he wouldn't disclose it to anybody. I wanted to do this the civil way. I didn't want him on my property. I was scared of Mr. Pierce. I had to buy a gun. My fiance, HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Your fiance did not commit suicide over this, Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS.
Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS on the same day that the sheriff came to look for his property, and he was not there. HRS came.
Miss Dennis.
That was a coincidence.
Shh, Miss Dennis. If you've deluded yourself into believing that your fiance committed suicide over this cracked tub and everything that came from it, you are doing nothing more than deluding yourself.
It caused a lot of problems between us.
It may have caused a lot of problems between you, problems that I'm certain existed before. Certainly the same bathtub happened to you. You did not commit suicide as a result of this cracked bathtub, and neither did your fiance.
And neither did your fiance. My fiance did. He was scared that he was going to lose our baby. He didn't know anything about protective services. This was his first child.
Listen to me carefully. Nobody took your child from you, correct?
No.
Nobody took the child out of the house, Miss Dennis.
My fiance did not understand that, Your Honor. He thought protective services would continuously bug us. I got an HRS report here that says that the allegations were false. The call was made on the same day that the police came to look from his stuff.
HRS said Terry Pierce.
And basically, Mr. Pierce.
Sorry, ma'am.
Don't interrupt.
Ma'am, if I could just submit that it was the same day that the sheriff came to look for his belongings and they were not on the property, that's the same day HRS was called.
That's not proof that he called, madam.
Your Honor,
I don't know who else was.
I don't know who else called either, but what I'm telling you is you bought a house.
I didn't know anybody else in that county.
This is a stressful time for you. You have a new baby. Baby's father is no longer there to assist you. You made a mistake when you purchased this house by not reading this inspection very carefully. Any person purchasing a house, bells would have gone off and said, listen, if there's rot, there has to be a reason. I want you to go back there. I'm not satisfied with the report. I want you to go back there and look at it. See what's causing that water to get into the wood underneath the bathtub. You didn't do that. The house is closed. Miss Dennis, speak not.
Hey.
But you had no right. You have no right to withhold his property. I mean, if a lawyer gave you that advice, don't give him his property until you get the bathtub resolved.
No,
that's the
only
wrong
until I
thing
could
to do.
serve him.
What kind of damage are you claiming, Mr. Pierce?
Well, Your Honor, the contents that I had in the shed, which they allegedly said they never had, was damaged. It was destroyed. Well, I had a computer. I have a list. The stuff was damaged and destroyed, and a loss of wages from the tools that they withheld. They stole all my documentation from my income tax returns for the last 7 years, my investment portfolio papers. They took photographs of my wife, my children, and which we never had gotten.
You never got them back?
I never got them back, ma'am. No, I didn't.
What did the plaintiff do with your property?
They lied about their identities to the sheriffs. Okay, that's why the sheriffs had to keep coming back to the house. They were getting no cooperation. They lied about who they were.
I asked you a question. I said, what did they do? The shed came and got taken away. When the shed came and was repossessed, was your stuff in the shed?
No, it wasn't, because I was there that day. They came and picked up the stuff.
What happened to the property?
It wound up in a used storage facility down by her ex-father-in-law down in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And
so they moved the property out of the shed
Yes.
into another facility.
Yes, and they claim they never had it.
From what place did you take his property and where did you put it?
I removed the property out of the shed and I put it in use storage. The woman who works there, Joyce, watched as his property was being removed, and basically she noticed that nothing had been damaged.
Don't tell me what she noticed, Miss Dennis. You made a big mistake. You have absolutely no legal justification or right to move his property from where it was to you store it. And if anything happened to that property from the time he put it in there until the time he finally retrieved whatever he retrieved from you store it, you are responsible. There is no legal right that you had to move it. Let me see what you claim, Mr. Pierce, was destroyed and or lost.
Here's a list from the sheriff's department, and here's some paycheck stubs as of last week.
I'm not interested in paycheck stubs,
Well,
sir.
that's part of the loss.
I'm not entertaining the part of the lawsuit that indicates that they withheld tools and therefore you couldn't work. That's iffy, at best. What are you showing me this? I asked you what you could
There's a list, an itemized list from the sheriff's department. My work tools.
You never got them back?
No, I never got them back. Which ones I did get back were broken. And the gentleman who owns you store it, I made him... See, I couldn't open up the combination lock because I was really upset that day. And I made the owner of the storage facility come to the place, and he opened it up in my presence, and he saw that the stuff was just thrown in there.
There's no question in my mind it was just thrown in there.
Ma'am,
I want to see, sir, a bill for repairing the computer.
I never repaired it. I just went and bought a new one. I paid $1,199 for that unit that has been broken, but I went to Gateway and I bought a new one for $799.
What else?
My radio arm saws, my chop boxes, tools that I use. I install windows for a living.
Okay. Do you have any bills, Mr. Pierce, any receipts for the replacement of those tools?
No, but the deputy who wrote up the report, he had made a list of what the stuff was worth.
I'm not interested in what the deputy thought the stuff was worth, Mr. Pierce. You say you need these tools for your living. So I assume if you went to the shed and the tools were either lost or destroyed, you had to replace them.
Well, I did.
So all I'm asking you is for the receipts so that I can see how much it cost to replace the tools that you said were missing.
I didn't think to bring them because of the fact that they were written on paper. I showed the deputy report.
Just a second. Give this back to me. This is nonsense.
Your Honor, nothing was damaged or broken.
Just a second. Mr. Pierce, I'm not a stupid lady.
I know you're not. But
Fine. Then when you come to court, you don't tell me what a deputy thought your tools were worth.
I had to prove
what
to
you
them.
do what you do is you bring receipts to court
Right.
so that you show me I bought this saw and this is what it cost.
You're right.
All right, so you don't have that. What else?
That's about it, except for the
Your Honor, may I
loss
say
of
something,
wages.
please?
Who are you?
Ma'am, I'm Marguerite Dennis, Roseanne's mother.
Sure. What do you have
Co-owner
to
of the-
contribute to this?
May I address the court?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, in a separate transaction from purchasing the home, we bought some furniture, and inadvertently, not realizing what all we had bought from his wife, he packed one of the pieces of furniture that we had bought. So he agreed to bring it back to us the next day.
What was that piece of furniture?
It was a wicker love bench.
Okay.
And at that time, he was welcomed onto the property to get his vehicle. And at that point in time, he had every opportunity to go to the shed, get his work tools, or get whatever else he wanted to. Common sense would just tell me that if you're given the opportunity to go into your shed, you inadvertently or purposely left tools that you need in order to do your job, earn your bread and butter, you're going to go and get them. You're going to retrieve them.
Or take them when you
That's
move.
not true, Your Honor.
All I'm telling you is, Miss Dennis, I'm not giving him any money for the tools because he cannot establish to my satisfaction what those tools were.
I understand that, Your
and
Honor.
how much it cost to replace them. I'm also telling you and your daughter that it was the wrong thing to do to move any of his property off the property
I
into you
understand that,
store
Your
it.
Honor.
And I don't care who gave her that advice. It was very bad advice. Miss Dennis, while I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800 on his counterclaim, and that is really for the computer, because I don't think you can buy a new computer for less than $800.
Ma'am, I have a repair bill for the tub.
I am not.
I know you don't.
I am telling you, that's your fault. If you hired an inspector that didn't do his job,
it was covered up by a
did you
no-slip grip.
understand me? You know, I can't say it to you more than 10 times. If an inspector notes rot under a bathtub, you look further.
He could have disclosed it because it's against the law.
Oh, gee, Miss Dennis, you just don't get it. Take responsibility.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you give them back the wicker bench?
That's the day I found out that I was not allowed to go into the shed and get my property.
Okay.
So they're lying about that also.
Okay, I'm dismissing the claim, and on the counterclaim, I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tate versus Enrico. Step forward, please.
Community advocate Valoria Tate is suing her neighbor, Secretary Laura Enrico, for slander and damage caused by her cats.
Miss Tate, it is your claim that the defendant's cats damaged some of your property. The two of you are neighbors and share a common garage and storage area. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that sometime later, when you tried to remedy this situation yourself, the defendant posted flyers around or passed out flyers in the neighborhood accusing you of trying to poison animals and children.
After her neurotic behavior.
Okay. So how long have the two of you been neighbors and shared this common space?
I've lived there 5 years, and I'm not sure. I would say she's been there maybe 2 years.
Year and a half now.
Year and a half. You have two cats?
Yes.
Now tell me about this common space that you share.
I have pictures of the common area.
I'd like to see them.
That's supposedly where all of us can use the patio area. And I explained to my neighbor that I'm highly allergic to pets, and I can't go down there and entertain myself or my friends as long as cats are living on our tables.
Go ahead.
So I have several pictures.
Is this the common space that you share?
That's part of it. That's in the garage, and that's my personal space. That table was made for me. It's actually higher than a normal
Just
table.
show me the
Okay.
Just show me the private space that you have for storage.
Space.
Okay. So tell me how her cats destroyed your property.
Well, before they destroyed my literature that I placed in my garage and covered it very well with bags and mothballs, they've already destroyed a couple of plant pots, and used the bathroom in my plant pots.
Did you see that, or did you just
I
assume?
saw that, and when I saw it, I nicely went over to Laura and I told her, "Your cat's potted in my plant and my pot," and she would come over, clean it up and say those few nasty things, but she would clean it up. The second time I did that, she was a little more angrier, and she literally went down to the patio to the common court area, and she turns around like this. Some people don't want my cat to, but not poop. Laura has this thing about you can't tell her to clean up behind her own pets because she feels, as she kind of indicated, cats have a right to.
All right, she'll tell me what she feels.
Okay. So therefore, I went to the management. They said they have approached her several times. They pointed out in this CNRs, the rules, that we can only have house pets. In fact, I asked my owner before I moved. I said, I'm highly allergic.
Can I see the house rules, please?
Yeah. I told him, I said, I'm highly allergic to pets. Do they have pets? He says, no, only house pets.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valoria Tate says condo neighbor Laura Enrico owes for property damage caused by her cats. Valoria also claims Laura distributed a slanderous flyer calling her a pet killer.
Well, I've read the rules, and the rules clearly say that no pet is to be in a common area. Dog has to be kept on a leash at all times. Is this a picture of your cat on the table?
I can't see it.
Would you give that to her, please?
It's a black cat.
And is your cat a black cat?
He was, yes.
Now, after certain of your property was destroyed, and in your complaints say that you found that her cat urinated on a box, right? And there was literature in that box.
Yes.
What did you do?
What did I
do? You put mothballs around the area.
Oh, the reason I put the mothballs is before I left for the trip, her cat was in my area up on top of my boxes. I have never seen the cats on the boxes before at that time. So I went into the house, I had some mothballs, left the boxes on the boxes so you can see what they were, and I left on my trip.
Okay. You had a confrontation with the defendant and a friend of hers accusing you of trying to poison children and animals.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that there were some flyers that were distributed. I'd like to see those.
Your Honor, the flyers were placed on everyone's door in our entire complex. There's 26 units.
Did you place this around?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
I have concern for the animals and the children in the complex.
I want to tell you something. You got some nerve. If you have animals that in any way interfere with your neighbor's peaceful enjoyment of their property, you keep your animals in the house. What right do you have to let your animals outside into common areas, on tables, on chairs? What right do you have to do that? None. And you are so arrogant, as to say the last line here is, if you have a problem with allergies, dislikes, phobias, or such about animals in the building, it might be suggested to move to another building. And you go through this whole grandfather clause because two people had cats that were outside. You say now it's grandfathered, so your cats can be outside. If you want to have house pets and you want to let them outside, go buy a house in the woods and let your animals out in the woods where they don't bother anybody. But you live in a condominium complex where there are lots of other people. And it is possible that some adults, some children are afraid of cats. Somebody might want to come and put their lunch on a table, and your cat has just been walking around after walking around in feces, now walks around on the table. That's outrageous. And your reaction is, what? Cats will be cats? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, but my cats aren't the only ones in the courtyard. We have a lot of strays that come into the garage and come
That
into the
may
courtyard.
be. She can't complain about strays. Strays are not your problem. Your problem is your two cats. Because you are an owner or a tenant.
I'm an owner.
As an owner, you should want to do everything that you can to preserve the integrity of your space. What are you laughing about? Are you on medication?
No, I'm not your. No, I'm not, Your Honor. But the demonstrations of irrationality never occurred. She threatened me. She followed me.
Let me ask you this question: did you ever check with the management company to find out whether Miss Tate ever had any problems with prior tenants?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have problems with prior tenants?
No.
I would say that you probably didn't. You keep your cats in your house because that's what the rules say. Specifically, rules that you gave and you signed for when you bought your condominium specifically said that only these two people, long gone, could have their cats out in the courtyard. You signed it. I assume when you signed it, you read it. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you abide by the rules you signed and read? Rules are your cats stay in your house. Yeah, right. And this is nasty.
Don't like having my animals threatened to be killed.
Well, why don't you keep your animals in your house?
I will from now on.
Perfect. Did we just solve that problem?
Yes, you did, Your Honor.
Fine. She doesn't mention your name in this, does she?
No.
Now, it's very possible that other people knew what she was talking about, but she doesn't mention your name.
May I share with you why she didn't have to?
Go ahead.
Because she made such a big scene about I was trying to kill these cats and children. All the neighbors heard it, and then she called the police. Well, they knew there was only one person she was referring to.
That I can't tell you what they knew.
But
she does not mention your name in this flyer. But certainly, Miss Enrico has agreed at this point, is that right, Miss Enrico? That you will keep your cats in your home from now on.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That seems to solve the problem. I will prepare that order, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 282 on the calendar in the matter of Dawkins versus Morris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young lady, have a seat, please.
All right, this is a little complicated. Let me see if I can simplify it. Miss Dawkins, according to your complaint, about a year ago, your boyfriend was arrested and was incarcerated. The defendant was a friend and also was a paralegal by trade. You claim that you paid the defendant $2,500, that she said that she had an attorney who would be very good for your boyfriend, and that the $2,500 was a retainer. And then later, when he was given a public defender, she said that she would work with the public defender to file motions and do other things in her capacity as a paralegal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Subsequently, you found out from the attorney, the public defender, who had been assigned to represent your boyfriend, that he told her to stay out of it and not do anything. So you want your $2,500 back.
Right.
Is that this case?
That's it.
Ms. Morris says that the $2,500 was in fact paid to her, but it was for the return of a loan. Now, first tell me, just my own information, what was your boyfriend arrested for?
It's for a murder. He's still in prison right now.
And he still has a public defender.
Right.
Did the attorney who Miss Morris said that she had that would be very good for your boyfriend, did he ever appear in court?
No.
When did you give her this $2,500?
In November 2000.
Did you give it to her in check or cash?
I sent her a money order with cash.
You have a copy of that money order?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
Well, Western Union receipt.
I'd like to see it. I'd like you to tell me, Ms. Dawkins, about the discussion that you had with her when you sent her this check.
Like you said, my boyfriend had went to prison, and because of that, we called on Paulette for legal advice, and she told us that she would see what she could do. And she told me that he would need a lawyer, and she had a friend that she was going to talk to. So she did that. I talked to Paulette a couple days later, and she told me that if I got $10,000, that we would be able to retain this lawyer. All I had at that time was $2,500, and his mother tried to come up with the rest of the money, but we couldn't. So he was given a conflict panel attorney, and we left it alone because we knew we weren't going to come up with the rest of the money. Then she told me that she had spoke with his attorney and that they agreed to work on that.
The attorney who was assigned
to him, yes. She told me that she had spoke with him and that they agreed to work on the case together, but since he got paid through the state, that I would have to give her the money that I had already had, the $2,500, for her to file the motions and to do some research on her own on my boyfriend's behalf.
Is that when you sent the money?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I sent the money from out of state because I was out there with some family. When I came back from out of state, I had got a hold of his attorney, and he told me that he told Paulette not to get involved with the case because she couldn't do anything but hurt it. I got suspicious about it because I had talked to my boyfriend. He told me Paulette had not attended any court dates since I had sent her the money.
Okay. Ms. Morris, I will hear you.
First of all, Your Honor, I've never seen or met Jessica before in my life. This is my first time ever laying eyes on her. As far
you were
as
a friend of her boyfriend's?
Yeah, he calls me Mom. I'm kind of like a mentor to him. And
not such a good mentor if he's in jail for murder.
No, that...
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Prior to him being arrested, I've been helping him try to find a job. He really was pushing the pedal and finding a job. He eventually found a job. The date that he started his job, he got arrested, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Prior to that, I had loaned the ex-boyfriend a total of $1,200 to help him with her to move into an apartment complex to get on his feet. And he told me that he would pay me back $100 a month. Mom, I will pay you $100 a month until I pay you back. And that's fine. It's no problem. I'm a gambler, Your Honor.
So, you loaned him $1,200.
I loaned him $1,200.
Right.
And what he asked me to do was to find him an attorney, which I did. I had a friend who practices in criminal law. I have never, and I really get offended when someone refers to me as a paralegal, because I've never even held myself out to be a paralegal. I don't even do paralegal work.
I'm not following you, Miss Morris. Is it your claim that you loaned the ex-boyfriend money and this $2,500 was repayment of that loan?
$1,200.
$1,200.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
no, is that your claim? The $1,200 is a repayment of the loan?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the rest of the money for?
Okay. I went on behalf of him, and I've gathered a lot of information out on the streets that I could get a lot better than investigators could get. And I gave the information to an investigator for the attorney. And at some point, I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I gave the rest of the information to the MET unit, which is like a SMASH unit, a drug unit. In the meantime, Randy called me and asked me if I would take, first he called my daughter to ask if she would take his son, because his son was in some very serious danger. The son at the time was only 14 months old. Miss Dawkins here was in possession of Randy's son when the murder occurred. He was begging my daughter to take the baby. My daughter couldn't. So he says, I'll ask Mom. And I told him I would do it for $2,500 until he gets out, because raising a baby is not cheap. They couldn't come up with the full $2,500, so I said, okay, the 12 and the 13, $2,500, I will go ahead and do it. When you get out, him, the ex-boyfriend, and her were supposed to take the baby. Well, it ends up that he's still there. He's not in prison, Your Honor.
Where is he?
He's in a county jail. He's not been tried. He's not in prison. The case is still pending.
He's whatever.
Yeah.
He's not free.
Right.
Where did you get this money from, Miss Dawkins?
I had it saved up. And I have a letter.
This is your money?
Yes. I have a letter from Randy showing exactly why she took the money. It doesn't say anything about a loan that was given to him or...
This is the person who was incarcerated.
That's in jail, right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Dawkins says she gave money to her ex-boyfriend's friend, Paulette Morris, so she could retain a lawyer on his behalf. Jessica says Paulette blew the money.
Let me tell you the problem with your defense, Miss Morris. Your loan agreement was not with the plaintiff. Your loan agreement, if I believe you, was with a person who was incarcerated. And there is no proof that the person who was incarcerated paid that money, that she paid the money.
However, there is, Your Honor.
Tell me what that is.
The reason I'm being brought here today is because Ms. Dawkins found out that my daughter Kyla here, who was really close friends with Randy, was seeing Randy. She found out about that, and that's when holy hell came about. Her problem is between her and my daughter and Randy. I'm
How
being
old is your
drawn
daughter?
into, my daughter's 19 years old.
What do you mean she was seeing Randy?
My daughter had a boyfriend at the time. Jessica was with Randy at the same time. They were all kind of hanging out and having fun together. I had no idea that they were seeing each other, you know, other than being friends.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Dawkins. Did you ever have a telephone conversation with the defendant?
Yes.
When
Several.
did you have that telephone conversation?
I've had several conversations with her.
Relative to the $2,500?
Probably around June or July that I spoke with her and asked her about the money.
What do you mean asked her about what?
Because this is when I found out, this is when I had got back and I had spoke with Randy. He told me she had not been to his court dates. Since I gave him the money, he hasn't heard from her. So I had called her up to see what was going on with that money and why she wasn't doing what she promised. And that's when she told me she had the baby, and I have never had custody of Randy's son, ever.
Who asked you to send this money?
She asked me to send this money to her.
Did you speak to Randy first?
Yes, but he did not tell me to give her the money. I didn't speak with Randy that much because they're collect calls. I can't speak with him that much. I spoke with the defendant, and she told me she would need the money to file motions and do research.
Miss Morris, where is this child now?
The child is residing with me. In January, I will be adopting the child. I have a letter here from Randy as well, asking the judge court, and it is in the papers as to him wanting me to take the baby. As far as me not going to Randy's court appearances or anything, he requested me not to for the safety of the baby.
Well, this letter does not give you the ability to adopt the child. It
No,
does
I
not
have
give his consent.
I have the
Did you file a petition to adopt the child?
I have the petition for guardianship.
Guardianship is not adoption.
No, the laws have changed within 1 year in January. The adoption procedures will be will start, exactly.
Can start. His parental rights have to be terminated. Where's
within
the mother?
1 year. The mother is in a youth halfway home. She just got out of juvenile hall.
Are you paid any money by the state?
Now I am.
Morris?
Yes, I am.
Let me finish. There is a procedure that is used in this country. It's called kinship foster care, or foster care with someone that you know. So the state gives you money every month for taking care of the baby. How much do you receive from the state?
$406.
And how long has the child been with you?
The child has been with me since January 2nd. I began receiving payments in about March.
So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So you've received 8 payments?
Approximately, yes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. So you've received $3,200 so far. So this money that you say he's supposed to give you for taking care of the child, you have been reimbursed for taking care of the child by the state.
I had no
by
choice.
The state.
Right.
By the state.
And what happened was when the child was brought to me, the child came to me with just a shirt, a dirty diaper, and a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I had to completely furnish a room, completely buy all clothing, all items that a baby would need to sustain
The state
him.
also gives you a stipend for that clothing allowance.
No, I got that later on.
But I know that you get a clothing allowance and a stipend, and also money to furnish a room.
$100.
I know that you get that.
$100.
So don't say no. Yes, you do. You get $100 for what?
A year.
For what?
For a clothing allowance.
Okay. Well, you get $400 a month. The child that age doesn't eat $100 a week.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
But the child wears diapers. The child had bottles.
Right.
The child needed clothing.
Right.
The child has daycare. I work.
No, you don't pay for the daycare for the child.
Exactly. It comes
exactly.
from the money.
So don't tell me you have daycare because the state pays for the daycare for the child.
No, it comes out of the $400.
No. The state pays for daycare with daycare vouchers if
That
you're
is
working.
not true, Your Honor.
I don't know what state you come from.
He's not a foster child, Your Honor. He's a ward. He's my ward. I'm his legal guardian. When I do put him into a facility, once he's potty trained, it goes according to my income.
So who babysits for the child?
Whoever I can get to babysit for him.
Who do you get to babysit for
Usually
the
my
child?
relatives or some really
Right.
close friends.
Okay. Good.
And
I
also,
gotcha.
Your Honor, here...
I gotcha.
Okay. On the other point, the papers that I'm showing here where I did give Randy the money for him and the apartment for him and Jessica, which they both were dwelling in, is here. My daughter been there.
Were you living in an apartment that she helped fund?
No, I didn't know anything about that. If she helped Randy fund an apartment, then Randy needs to pay her back.
Right.
Did she
right.
reside
I did
in the
not know.
apartment?
Doesn't make any difference.
I didn't know anything about any
The
money
loan
that he
was
gave
not
her.
made to her. The loan was made to him. If you had a misjudgment, Miss Morris, with regard to person to whom you made a loan, you can't visit that on her. And there is no proof that the money that she sent you, the $2,500, came from Randy.
I know it didn't come from Randy.
Well, if it didn't come from Randy, it has to go back to her. And if he ever gets out of jail because you say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, then I assume that he will be acquitted of these horrendous charges. And at that time, I assume he'll pay you the money back that he owes you. But that's not her responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I honestly believe that it was behind jealousy because of my daughter and her ex-boyfriend.
There are plenty of men out there. I don't need to hold on to someone that's in jail that's going to mess with someone like that.
Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Levin versus Richter.
Thanks, Byrd.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Levin, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant. You were there for a relatively short period of time. You claim you left as a result of her constant harassment, both sexual harassment and otherwise, and you are seeking a substantial amount of money for that harassment and the stress that she caused you, in addition to the return of your security deposit, which I believe was $200. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Ms. Richter says that you were the source of the irritation in the household, that you caused her a great deal of stress and aggravation, that you left your room in miserable condition when you left, and you also left owing some bills. So she is counterclaiming. Is that right, Ms. Richter?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Mr. Levin, how did you find this room in the defendant's home?
It was advertised in a local newspaper.
Did you have a job that time close by to where the defendant was living?
I've been disabled. I'm a physician, general practice. I've been disabled since 1995 due to what has turned into 7 neck operations.
Do you have a private house?
I have a mobile home.
So the room that you were renting was in a mobile home?
It's a mobile home park, and I have a small room in that home, yes.
How much was the monthly rent?
$400.
When did you move in?
It was July 20th, I believe.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes.
And when did you move out?
I moved out several times because I was hospitalized several times during the month and a half or so that I was there. But I moved my things out September 2nd and 3rd.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, none of them.
Okay, when did he move in?
He brought his things over 2 days before the 1st.
Of what?
Of July. And he moved in the day before the 1st of July. And he moved out on the 4th of September.
Okay. Did he pay July's rent?
He paid July's rent,
$400.
yes.
And he gave you a security deposit, is
He
that
gave
correct?
me, yeah.
$200.
He gave me $200 security deposit.
Okay. And did he pay August's rent?
He paid August rent and then canceled the checks.
Is that correct, sir?
The whole thing is...
Is that correct, sir?
No, it is not.
Did you pay for the month of August?
Yes, and I did. And I also paid $200 for food.
Don't tell me food.
Prior
or
to
no
that.
food. Rent. Did you give her $400 in August?
Yes.
1st of August for rent. Do you have that canceled check?
I
assume
don't.
You do.
I have the canceled checks.
I'll see it, please. Okay. Mr. Levin, what caused you to move out of the house?
Your Honor, I moved into the home initially because of my disability. I've had chronic pain, and I've also developed an illness called polyneuropathy, where my feet are like on fire all the time, and I needed help. The arrangement was Ms. Richter would make food, make lunches for me daily.
Ms. Richter, don't play with your papers. Listen carefully to what he's saying.
I'm listening.
And she would make dinner for me. And I paid extra $200 for that. And that was the understanding. At these meals, she would talk constantly, and it became evident to me that I was almost being used as a mate in this home.
As a mate?
As a mate. And I was being talked to as if I was her partner. And then what happened that made me move out was that she began to look at my body, and she looked at my legs at one point, and then she says, "You have really nice legs." I wear shorts all the time. And at that point, I was very disgusted. I'm not interested in a 72-year-old woman in that way. I'm a physician and a professional person. So I realized at that time I better not have meals with her. I didn't want to listen to her talk as if I was her mate. I didn't want her looking at my body.
What would she say, sir, that suggested to you she was talking as if you were her mate?
Well, I would have to listen to all of her history of where she lived and what all the people that she knew and where she worked and the different stores that she owned, and look at the pictures of her in her stores and get to know all about her. And then when I didn't know...
That doesn't sound like a mate. I don't even talk to my mate. What over meals?
Well, when I didn't...
You have a newspaper. What are newspapers for?
When I didn't know enough, I was told, you don't know anything about me. At any rate...
Have you ever been married, sir?
Yes, I have, ma'am.
How long were you married?
I was married for 14 years.
And you talked to your wife over dinner like that?
I talked to my wife and children at dinner.
Over dinner, like that? You know, a whole bunch of stories and pictures and history? No. You don't.
Well,
she was a friend. I mean, I don't understand
no,
why you...
there was more, because I was not interested in listening to her talk about herself constantly.
What did she think she should be talking about?
I didn't even want to talk. I wanted to have my food and
in peace.
And peace, which is guaranteed as part of a, when you rent a room, you're guaranteed peace of mind. That's part of the rental agreement.
Dr. Levin, when you rent a room from someone in a mobile home, you're not in Graceland. It's sort of a confined space. So it would seem to me if she made you dinner, she would make herself dinner at the same time and sit down and eat with you.
But, Your Honor, that wasn't the plan. The plan...
That wasn't the plan in your mind. The plan in your mind was she would prepare meals, leave them, and leave you alone to eat. If that's what the sexual harassment part of your claim is.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. The harassment was when she started looking at my body in the kitchen and looking at my legs and saying, you have kind of nice legs. And that was very, to me, very demeaning.
You have nice legs?
That's not for me to comment on. I'm sorry.
Well, if somebody told me I had nice legs, I wouldn't consider that sexual harassment, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Richard Levin says ex-roommate 72-year-old Margot Richter won't return his security deposit. Margot says Richard was impossible to live with.
All right, let's go. I don't think much of this harassment, sexual harassment. Let's move on to what you want. You want your security deposit back?
I was injured by this woman in a number of ways beyond wanting the security deposit.
So tell me the rest.
I opened up to her emotionally as if I was a confidant. I could talk to her. I thought she was a friend. I'd suffered from depression throughout my life and had a problem with my father. And she makes a statement to me after I stopped having meals there. She makes a statement, oh, I know why your father hated you. You're a horrible person. To me, that was really an upsetting comment. I was also told, I hope you choke to death on that sandwich that you're eating. And I didn't exactly need that kind of comment either when I'm in chronic pain and having a lot of medical problems. I was given...
You already didn't have...
I would like to
Ms.
finish.
Richter, don't speak to him.
There was a restraining order that I couldn't come within 10 feet of the woman, which meant I couldn't use the kitchen. So no longer could I have food made, or I couldn't even try to make it for myself. I had to eat out of the back of my pickup truck, out of a cooler, for 2 weeks. I was also assaulted physically by the woman.
Tell me how you were assaulted physically, because you mentioned that, but you don't really talk about it in your complaint.
I was trying to get some butter to put on some oatmeal from the refrigerator, and she has...
Was that before or after the restraining order?
This was before.
Go ahead.
I opened the refrigerator. She has a thing about not keeping the refrigerator open more than 2 seconds. This was maybe 3 seconds. I reach for the butter. She grabs my wrist, shoves me out of the way, and I'm unable to walk, and my feet are extremely painful.
What a lie.
And I do not feel that she has that right to shove me physically. I called the police, and deputy came to the house, and he asked me if I wanted her arrested. And I said, yes.
Was she arrested?
This is assault.
Was she arrested?
He did not arrest her.
Okay. Did you get your security deposit back?
I was told at the end, do not clean your room. I was feeling throughout this time that this woman was very jealous that I had a girlfriend. She comes and she pounds on the door when I'm on the phone with my girlfriend in the evening, screaming and pounding on the door. She got the phone number somehow of my girlfriend. This was a few weeks ago. She calls her up and spends 20 minutes telling her what a horrible person I am.
Why didn't your girlfriend hang up?
I don't know.
Why don't you ask her?
I did.
And what did she say?
She said that she doesn't do that to people.
Doesn't hang up on people?
Yeah.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in La Jolla.
With whom?
I'm living by myself in an apartment.
By yourself? No more girlfriend?
I have a girlfriend.
She stay over?
She lives where she lives.
And so you just visit?
Yes.
Fine. You're getting along okay by yourself?
I'm doing my best, but I also feel I have been harmed by this woman, and I do feel that my suit is just.
Well, not every affront, Dr. Levin, is cause for a lawsuit. What you were complaining about was first some harassment by her because she was treating you as a mate, which is something you hadn't bargained for. But then later you said to me that you confided in her as a friend about certain things about your own life and your relationship with your father. So it's clear to me that this just wasn't a one-sided conversation where you were trying to blindly have your dinner and she was just yakking off at the mouth and you just wanted to be quiet. There was a conversation.
Which
Well, then,
ended with the business about my body.
stop saying your body, sir. Talk about the fact that she looked at your legs while you were in shorts and she said to you, you have nice legs. If, in fact, she said that at all. I mean, that's not something that would send a rational person into a tailspin.
Well, it was more than the statement. It was the feeling that went with it. You can tell when a person is doing
I
that.
don't think that she was prepared to attack you, Dr. Levin.
No, I wasn't worried about being attacked. It was
You
a
were worried
feeling
about what?
that she had other ideas than my just sitting there and eating meals, that I was to be something more than a renter.
Well, that's possible, sir. Maybe she felt as if you had developed a friendship over the course of the month or so that you were living there. You confiding in her about your intimate history, she confiding in you about her intimate history. Maybe she felt as if you were just shy and not prepared to make the first move. Now, she is, as you point out in your complaint, somewhat older than you are, but is your girlfriend somewhat younger than you are?
No.
The same age? Good for you. Like to hear that. Don't like to hear about these guys dating.
That's wrong, too. She's quite a bit younger.
No, she's a year older than I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, she probably looks pretty good then.
Yes, Your
She
Honor.
ever been married?
I don't know.
You don't know if your girlfriend's ever been married?
I don't choose to discuss it.
She's never been married. She has no children. Now I know why she looks terrific.
She has children.
All right. Let me get to your
The
counter.
real damage was my being unable to eat when I couldn't use the kitchen. I couldn't be within 10 feet of this woman.
It's a lie.
That's a
I had
result-
to eat out of the back of my truck while
Dr.
ill.
Levin, is that as a result of a court order?
This was, yes, I couldn't be within 10 feet of her.
I cannot look beyond that, sir. I cannot look beyond the order of another court that says you cannot be within 10 feet or whatever of the defendant. That's something that a court determined that they were prepared to impose as a result of some fact, which I'm not prepared to get into now. Now, you didn't return his security deposit.
No, because it was used up.
Okay.
Because he canceled the checks, and then he gave me only one check for the rent back. And
I have a stop payment on this check, sir, that's made out to Margot Richter, dated
Yeah.
the 3rd of August, for $433 for August's rent and July's utilities. Did you cancel a check that you sent to her?
Yeah, but I paid it after that.
No, you didn't.
When
get
I
the whole
decided
check.
to stay, I did pay it.
Can I see a copy of your check?
I don't have it.
Well,
I
then
haven't
the
felt
only
well
thing-
enough to find anything, Your Honor,
Dr.
when I
Levin,
try to get these
Dr. Levin,
papers.
this is, you have a whole bunch of papers there, and it would seem to me that you would know that I would ask you to make sure that there was rent paid each month that you were living there and utilities, and the only thing that I have is a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 3rd, and also a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 4th, that you indicated here were for lunches. Now, so you say the security deposit was used up.
Yes.
I agree with you, because you didn't pay the rent for August. So you don't have to return a security deposit. Now, what else are you suing him for? I want to hear about your stress.
Okay, he called the police twice on me. He called the fire department and said I gave him a heart attack. And
Your Honor,
he
that was
crushed
not
my.
true.
He was never home on during the day. He was always on the beach. That's what he told me anyway. And that Sunday, I have planned my barbecue for the longest. Once a year, I have a barbecue, and my friends come from far away. And he wanted to crash my party, so he stayed home and called the police on me.
Miss Richter,
Yeah.
are you happy to be rid of him?
Oh yes, I am.
So now you're rid of him.
Yeah, but I have been. I'm not the same. I tell you that.
Well-
I only had 4 hours sleep because I can't
Gee.
sleep. I'm on
Why
pills.
can't you sleep now? Now he's gone.
Because all of the flashbacks I have from him.
Stop with
He has-
flashbacks. Listen to
No.
me. Did you ever rent a room in your trailer before?
Did you see the letters he wrote me? And
Let me see the letters he wrote you.
Your Honor, when I
Did
came
you
back
have you
from
rent? I'm speaking. Did you ever rent a room before, Miss Richter, in your
No,
trailer?
never.
Are you
No.
ever going to do it again?
Never. No.
Okay, good. That sounds right to me.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Certainly.
I do not agree that I was causing all this trouble.
Yes, you have.
This is something
Listen, you
that-
didn't get along together. That was a problem. What else? Miss Richter?
Oh, he grabbed, I would like to tell you a story what happened when he called the police the first time. Like he said, he was all holding the refrigerator open. He has been eating for 27 days my food out of the refrigerator. And I said, this is it. He grabbed the milk, not the butter. He grabbed the milk, and I said, put the milk back. And he stood there, and it was a hot day, and he just kept the refrigerator open. I said, please close the door. And I said it 2 or 3 times. He didn't close the door. I was standing next to him on the stove. He is my double-door refrigerator, and he had the door on this side.
I won't bother to tell you this is untrue.
And he came. I put my hand over him and closed the door. That's when he called the police and said I touched him. But
He's, just a minute, Miss Richter, listen to me. He's very sensitive. Miss Richter, did he use a phone? Do you have any bills?
I have a lot of bills here, yeah. I have a countersuit.
I understand what your countersuit is for bills that he owes you. Give me for instance, like what bills?
Oh, electricity.
Forget electricity. It was hardly there.
And,
your phone bill.
I cleaned his carpet because I couldn't afford to call a carpet cleaner, you know.
I was told not to clean the room.
I told you not to have to clean the carpet because I don't want my carpet ruined. You ruined another carpet. You washed it in hot water and all the backing came off and everything.
Did he use your phone?
Only
Did he
once.
use?
I don't even mention that.
Okay. So, sir, you used up your security deposit on the utilities and probably for some of the damage you did to the room because you acknowledged that the carpet was a mess. But you also didn't pay her August rent, and according to you, you lived there in the month of August. You didn't move out until September. I have no proof that you paid her.
I can't prove that I paid it, but I did pay the money, and she's lying.
It's $400 for August rent. Now, you moved out September what?
4th.
Did you pay for September?
I was forced to do other things in September, like go to court with another thing that she comes up with. That I had to go on the terrible day of September 11th, where I'm being accused of all kinds of things. Finally, we had to obviously abandon the courthouse that day and go the next day. And this finally, I don't know what she was involved with, something about some spilled coffee or something.
All right,
and I had to, this was dismissed.
$433 you canceled this check for, and that was for July's utilities and August rent. In addition, you gave her a check that you stopped payment on for $85.64 for lunches, so clearly you thought that you owed her that. $518.64. That's what he owes you, Miss Richter. Don't rent any more rooms to strangers. Your lawsuit's dismissed. Your counterclaim as indicated.
Parties are excused. You may step.
25-year-old retail manager Cynthia Haddon is suing ex-roommate, 23-year-old ticket broker Andrew McCallum for breaking their lease. Andrew says he broke the lease because Cynthia is unstable.
Ms. Haddon, the defendant was your roommate, according to your complaint. You claim that he moved out in the middle of the month of September 2001, owing you some rent and bills, and he also took some property of yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant said he's all paid up. When did he move in with you?
We moved in.
You moved in together?
Together.
And you were just friends?
Yes.
You signed a lease?
Yes, we have a lease that we shared.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, begins on September 15th.
It's beginning the 15th of each month?
Absolutely.
And you moved out on September 16th, is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
When
Moved
did you?
out on September 15th.
Okay. So you signed this lease, sir, is that right?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
And the lease requires that you give 30 days written notice to the landlord.
Okay.
May I see that, please?
I actually, I had spoke with our manager of the apartment complex, and basically I explained my situation.
Don't tell me what you explained to the manager of your apartment complex, sir, because it says that no oral notice is acceptable.
Okay.
Okay. Did you move out subsequently?
No, Your Honor. I've maintained the apartment. I've stayed there.
Okay. Do you have a new roommate?
Yes. As of October 15th, I have a new roommate.
Okay. And how much was your share of the rent?
My share of the rent was $400, Your Honor.
Actually, Your Honor, we
Why?
had an agreement beginning in the end of August. Andrew and I had a conversation where I asked him, since his girlfriend was moving in, if he could actually split the cost of the rent halfway down the middle, and he said not a problem. So that would be $425 apiece.
Well, did he pay half the rent in August?
No, beginning September's rent.
Oh, forget it. Then he moved out.
Yeah, then he moved out.
Then he moved
exactly.
out. So he owes you $400 for September's rent. So you have to give a $400.
And then-
Now, what about utility bills, etc.?
I have the Edison bill, which was not the month for Andrew, but the past due balance of $87.79, which reflects the month before that, is the month that he was there.
Did you pay that bill?
Right here, Your Honor.
What's the date on it?
The date on it is 9/15. I actually wrote this check. I post-dated it. I wrote it on the 13th. Your
Was it
Honor.
cashed?
Was it cashed? Yeah. Sitting right
It's
here. I got
cashed.
it from my
May I
statement.
see it?
It was written to Southern California Edison.
Yes, Your Honor, that was also for the month of August's bill. We were in mid-cycle when he moved.
Well, I don't know that, madam. You don't have the bill. He has a check for $191.70 dated 9/15/01.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have that bill that he paid, actually, and it shows the dates on there.
8/2 to 8/31.
Yes, Your Honor. He moved out on September 15th.
Oh, stop it. Stop annoying me with petty stuff. He doesn't owe you $87 for 15 days.
I called the...
He doesn't owe you $87 for 15 days. What else?
I also have a copy of the cable bill in the amount of $71.77.
For what period of time?
It was actually for the period of 9/22 to 10/21.
He wasn't even there to watch cable. Next.
I loaned him my television antenna in his room for his television, and he took that with him.
Did you take an antenna?
No, ma'am.
What else?
He also took several items from me, ranging from CDs to Nintendo games.
CDs. How many CDs did he take?
Tell me right now.
I can't believe I went to law school for this. What CDs did he take from you?
I have a Creed CD, a Sugar Ray CD, Alanis Morissette CD, and an Eminem CD.
Nope.
Do you have those CDs?
I have Creed. I have purchased on my own. I probably can find the receipt if I wanted. I don't own any of the other ones. So, Your Honor, the answer is no.
What else?
Also a 007 Nintendo 64 video game.
You have something to say. You have the Nintendo game?
That's my game. I have the credit card receipt at home for that game.
She says it's hers. You say it's yours. How am I supposed to figure
There
that
were
out?
two. He had one of his own, and I
Yeah,
had
we left
one.
one there, and I took mine.
Also, Your Honor, on September 16th, I went and saw him there removing his stuff from the property. He had with him my belongings, which was a television cart stand. I saw it immediately and knew it was mine, and I took it back, as well as a CD tower rack. I noticed that, and he gave it back. And I also had realized that my Nintendo 64 controller was gone, and I asked him for it, and he gave that back.
Why did you pack up those items that weren't yours?
Okay. CD tower rack she had given to me in the month of March because I needed another rack for my CDs.
And what about the other stuff?
The Nintendo controllers, it was pretty much a foul-up. I have a total of 5 controllers that I bought myself. I do have receipts for because my other controllers had been faulty.
So it was
I
a
bought new
mistake?
ones. It was just an honest mistake.
Okay, what
so
about
I handed it
the
right
TV
back with a smile
stand?
on my face.
TV
stand? I didn't even have a clue about that.
Well, you took it.
Huh?
You took it.
Yeah.
But it was a mistake.
It was a mistake, Your Honor.
He owes you $400 for his share of the rent. He didn't give proper notice. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step before on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Lopez, you and the defendant have a child together. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your complaint that the defendant had you arrested on false charges of assault, domestic violence, and you want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you want a home entertainment center that you say was yours, that is in the defendant's home. The defendant says that the home entertainment center was a gift. You did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for her injuries.
I don't have nothing. He took everything.
Defendant says the home entertainment center was a gift. Do you still have it?
No, he took everything.
She doesn't have it. And that you did, in fact, assault her. And her counterclaim is for the injuries that she suffered during the course of this assault, which occurred around Christmas time. Is that right?
Christmas Day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lopez. Were you living with the defendant at the time that you were arrested?
I was moving out. I was in the moving out.
He was already a week out.
I'm going to get to you in a minute, but don't interrupt him. What do you mean you were in the process of moving out? What does that mean?
The day after Thanksgiving, we had a really big argument and we had broken up. So we made an agreement by no later than the first week of January that I had to have everything of mine moved out and be completely moved out. I was staying between there, like a few days if I babysitted my son, or I stood at my best friend's house or my mother's house.
So most of the time you weren't living there?
Yes.
All right. So tell me about Christmas Day. You came over to the house?
What happened was we agreed to meet up at my best friend's house. We picked up my son and her son, her other child, and we agreed to go back to her house, to her apartment, and open up the children's gifts together. And from there, when we arrived at the home, we opened the gifts. She asked me to stay a little bit longer while she took a shower so I could watch the children. I agreed. At that time, I received a phone call from my fiancé on my fiancé's cell phone, just before she went to the bathroom to take a shower. At that time, I was speaking to her. I explained to her what time I was going to be finished. I explained to her that she was going to take a shower and I was going to meet up with her right after. At that time, she began screaming, saying stuff that didn't need to be said over the phone for my fiancé to hear. So at that time, I said, why are you acting up? You know what, I'm not going to stay. I'm leaving. She began an argument. I tried to leave. I had my son in my arms with the cell phone. She wouldn't let me leave. So I said, you know what, I'm leaving. I'm leaving my son. I put my son down in the crib. At that time, I dropped the cell phone in the crib without knowledge when I put my son down. I tried to leave. She blocked the doorway. I kept on explaining to her, move, I want to leave. I'm not staying, I'm out. She didn't want to let me. So then I barged through. She had her arms spread out against the doorway, holding me, not letting me go. So when I barged through so I could leave, she scratched her arm. So I left. When I got outside, I went to go call my fiancé.
That is not even
And
true.
when I got downstairs,
Ms. Gonzalez, I don't want
to
to hear it's not true again. Do you understand?
No problem.
No, that's not an answer. The answer is yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
That's right. Go ahead.
So outside, I went to make an attempt to call my fiancé, and I noticed I didn't have the phone. So when I went back upstairs...
That was stupid.
Because the phone was upstairs.
That was stupid.
I went and I looked for the phone. And
Say yes, that was stupid.
Yes, it was stupid. So I asked her if she had the
you
cell
just
phone.
gotten out of the house, you pushed her, she scratched her arm, according to you. You leave the cell phone and you go. You don't go back into a confrontational area, sir. That's stupid, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, you know.
All right, so you go back upstairs. What happened when you went back upstairs?
When I got upstairs, I asked her, did she have the cell phone? She says, I don't have it. So as I looked through the house, I remembered I had it in my hand when I put my son down. When I looked into the crib, my son wasn't in the crib. I went and found my cell phone under the sheet. Again, I attempted to leave. Again, she blocked my way. I said, just move, then move. At that time, she told me she had called the cops and I was going to be arrested. I said, well, I'm leaving. And outside the door, a lady, which I had never seen before in this building, for the whole year I was living there, had my son. As I attempted to take my son from the lady, 2 female officers were coming upstairs.
What were you taking your son from the lady for?
I didn't know the lady. If I don't know the person, I don't want nobody I don't know having my son in my hands. I don't know what they'll do. So the 2 officers were downstairs. They came, and they brought us all into the apartment, me, her, and the 2 kids. While we were in the apartment, the officers explained because this domestic problem, they were going to arrest both of us. At that time, they would take both children and put them in child custody. I said, I'm not pressing no charges. I don't want nothing. I just want to go home. My son can stay. I have no problem. At that time, the female officer told me to stand by the door, don't move. So at that time, there was a knock at the door. 2 more officers came, 2 male officers now. We go back inside. She's in there screaming. Next thing you know, all I hear is her mother screaming at me. Jason, I wouldn't do this to you. And she said, why are you doing this? I said, what's going on? The officer said, turn around, and they handcuffed me. Later, when I was taken down to central booking for arrest, I was informed of the charges. It was assault with weapon, child endangerment. They said I put a knife to my son's back. At no time did I ever touch a knife to grapple against my son. Because of that, I had charges of an ACS for attempted on my child, and
All right, you were held in jail for 2 days, is that right?
for, almost 2 days.
2 days.
I called my fiance.
All right, the charges were subsequently dismissed when you decided to drop all charges against each other, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you see your son now so regularly?
No.
Why not?
I still can't because she won't let me see my son.
Uh-huh.
It's a struggle for me to see my son.
All right.
And every time we went to family court for me to get a chance to see my son, she made false charges, knowing I was going to get visitation of my son, then I'm arrested.
Okay. I'd like to see first the medical bills that you have as a result of this incident on Christmas Day.
I didn't get to get the medical bills because this happened so quick that I didn't get a chance to get them. So I have my pictures.
Let me see all the papers you have. All the papers.
Your Honor, Judy.
Shh, just a minute.
I have a scar on my left hand.
Just a minute.
And the lady that
Just a
called-
second. These scratches are what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had a scratch.
All right.
I had a hairline fracture in my left hand.
Don't tell me you had a hairline fracture without any medical bills, without reports. Don't tell me about a hairline fracture.
Excuse me, Judge.
Shh. I'll get to you in a minute.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for Ms. Gonzalez. The police officer who took this report took your statement, is that right?
Yes, and on the statement?
I'm speaking. The police officer who took the report took your statement, and he read the statement to you, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And after he read the statement, he asked you if it was accurate, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And you said it was accurate, is that right?
That's right.
And you signed it.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have left out anything vitally important, is that right?
No.
So I'm going to read what you wrote in the statement.
I didn't write that. The officer.
What the I don't care whether you wrote it or the officer wrote it. I just asked you whether he read it to you and whether you signed it. You said yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Lopez says ex-girlfriend Suhey Gonzalez had him falsely arrested for domestic abuse. Suhey claims Jason slammed her hand in a door and held a knife to their son's throat.
All right, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm going to read what you wrote in this police report. It says, at the time and place listed above, the perpetrator, that's him, who was the victim's common-law husband, did grab the victim by her throat, choked her, at which time he forced her left hand between the door and the wall and repeatedly slammed the door on the victim's hand, causing substantial pain and swelling to the victim's left hand. That's what this says, okay? Now I'm going to tell you what you wrote in your answer. When I told him to leave, he grabbed our son and tried to take him. When I tried to stop him, he pulled a knife out and held it to my son's neck. He said, if you don't let me take him, I'll kill both of us.
No, they didn't write it in the police.
They wrote nothing about a knife threatening to kill himself, threatening to kill this child. You know why they didn't write that down? Because you didn't tell them that.
Is that you?
No. Because you didn't tell them that.
All right,
at the
I
time.
didn't tell them exactly at the time.
Right, at the
because
time.
they had me in a separate room, they had him outside.
Just a second. At the time, you didn't tell them that he took out a knife, he held it to the baby's throat, he threatened to kill the baby. You told him that he hurt your hand and your hand was in pain, not that he threatened to kill your child. You made that up later.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
They knew that he was the one. Can I say something?
Yeah.
In that police report, the lady signed. She's the one who signed right next to the statement, not me, because I didn't call the cops because he broke my phone, and that's why. I didn't call the cops. The lady from my building called the cops. She's the one who had both of my kids because my oldest was crying. She's the one who called the cops.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to call the cops.
Here we go.
Because he wanted to take my son, just like he took my son 3 weeks ago.
Let me explain to you what got you angry, Miss Gonzalez. I've been in this business a long time. He's at your house. According to your answer, he told you a couple of weeks before or a month before, he didn't want to have, I'm speaking, that he didn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. He had a new girlfriend. Clearly, he has a new girlfriend. All right?
Excuse me.
I'm speaking. He comes over to your house, right? According to your answer. You open up the Christmas presents together. It's all a nice family situation. You ask him to watch the kids while you go take a shower. This is what you write here. When you come out of the shower, you hear him on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm not saying that that's what happened to her. I'm saying that that's what she wrote in her answer. That makes one very angry.
Of course.
Of course. Of course that makes you very angry because there you're here with him, with a new baby. He's taking care of the baby's presents. He's in your house Christmas time, and he's going to say goodbye to you, and he's going to go to girlfriend number...
And it was just a week that we had broken up.
Fine. So you're really angry. The knife was a nice touch. He wasn't arrested with a knife. He wasn't arrested with a knife. You know what I'm talking about.
And
you know what I'm talking about.
And I know what happened.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what happened. Because he tried to take my son. He tried to take my son.
Just a second. What do you mean?
That's how... Who called my mother?
Miss Gonzalez.
Who called my mother? The lady?
Miss Gonzalez.
That called the cops?
Miss Gonzalez. Is he the father?
Yes, he's the father. And I'm not saying that he's not.
I'm speaking. Is he the father?
Yes.
Then you have no greater right to this child than he does.
But he kidnapped my son for 3 weeks.
You can't kidnap your own child unless there's an order of custody.
This is recently. We've been going through this. I just want to go on with
What
my life.
I'm
I want
telling
him to go on with his life. If he wants to see his son, he's more than welcome to see his son. I have nothing wrong with that. But he cannot see his son because he had order protection.
Then they're going to put you out. When you claim that you were severely assaulted, and the best picture that you can come up with is a picture showing me 2 scratches on your arm, 2 scratches. That's what they are. No hairline fracture, no hospital records, no, well, all right. This was an argument. And unfortunately, because the police take domestic violence seriously, as they should, they got to arrest somebody.
And I lost my securities license.
Mr. Lopez, you do not get an A+ for smarts. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get an A+ for going back for a $39.99 cell phone after you have already had an altercation with her, and you were out of the problem. You were outside.
Because he never went outside.
Excuse me?
Because he never went outside.
Because you wouldn't let him go outside, Ms. Gonzalez,
because
he was trying
to kidnap my
angry.
son. He was trying to take my son. And he's devious like that he would take my son and leave. Just like he did 3 weeks ago. And that's why he was going to get rearrested. I had to get the cops to come get my son from his house.
You keep saying my son.
Because he's my son. Because he don't pay no child support. He doesn't do nothing.
What do you do for a living?
He hasn't done nothing.
What do you do for a living?
I was working.
What do you do for a living now?
Nothing.
Who supports the child?
I do.
No, not if you're not working. You get welfare?
Yes, I do.
If you get welfare, then I support your son. You think I should take him?
Yeah, but I was working.
Just a second. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He doesn't support his child, and you don't support your child. I support your child. So that means that I should get custody? Don't be ridiculous. Pardon, Ms. Gonzalez. You keep saying, it's my child. He's taking my child. He's entitled to see his child. It doesn't sound to me like he's too bright. Because he went from this child, you're going to have another child? You keep rubbing your belly, right? Yes. You got enough trouble with one. You're going to make another one? Yep. How many more do you have?
That's the only one. The only one coming.
In any event, I read the police report. I read the police report that doesn't talk about a knife to the throat, threatened to kill the child, threatened to kill anybody, and I see 2 scratches on your arm. You also, sir, yeah, you want to play that for me?
Yes, I even have it.
Go ahead, let me hear it.
But I still can't get over the fact why you had me arrested.
Because I was just upset. Things were going through my mind. I'm admitting I'm sorry.
Oh, so you're admitting that you did get me arrested?
This is why he was...
This chick, because I was with another chick?
No, it wasn't only because of that. It was because of a lot of things, Jason.
Oh, okay. But then why did you tell him I punched you in your face, I choked the out of you?
No, I didn't say that.
Gigi, the DA said that in the court.
Mr. Lopez, I didn't even have to listen to that. I mean, I've heard this, I've been around this business now for 27 years, right? Yes. And I know, when I read your papers, I see her affect, right? Yes. And I know exactly what happened. That doesn't mean that you were smart, A, as I said, to go back to the cell phone, B, to get a telephone call from your girlfriend. Tell your girlfriend, don't call me until I call you. I don't want to create any more problems with her. I'm going to open presents with the children. Don't call me. That creates a problem.
We had already opened the gifts. This was around the time I was getting ready to leave.
She shouldn't have called you. And you shouldn't have spoken to her. Say, this is a tacky problem. I don't want there to be any problem with her. Don't call me. I'll be there. I'll be home when I'm home. And the reason she called is because it's a little territorial. She's not so happy either. You're going over to visit mother number 1. She's going to be mother number 2. You know, you got to be smart.
She wasn't pregnant at the time.
2 months later. Wow,
now she is. Now she is, right? And on your security job, you can hardly afford to pay for yourself.
I don't have work.
Listen to me, sir. When you had a security job, you could hardly afford to pay for 1 child. Now you're going to have 2. Did you pay for a lawyer? No. They gave you a free lawyer.
Yes.
You spent a couple of days in jail.
Yes.
You shouldn't have.
And so did I, because he falsely arrested me.
For what?
He said that I made phone harassment. On June 30th, he called me. I have the phone records for that. He called me with my own phone card that he rung up. He falsely arrested me on June 31st. I got arrested. I made the report on June 30th. As soon as the time right after he called me and called them and let them know that he was calling me and harassing me. And he called me with my own phone card. And right after that, he calls his girlfriend and his mother.
No. No.
Ms. Gonzalez, your counterclaim is for the assault that you claim he perpetrated on you
and
on
false
Christmas
arrest.
Day.
It says it on the paper.
And according to your complaint, you are filing for injuries and damages due to the alleged assault. Okay? You do say somewhere in your answer that he filed false charges, but the damages you are requesting are for the assault. and I don't find that he assaulted you, so your counterclaim is dismissed. The only thing that I have to consider now is whether there was an argument and whether, as a result of false statements that you made and continue to make and continue to embellish to the police.
Not me,
Betty,
because
I'm
I wanna go on with my
speaking.
life. He's the one who brings me here. For what?
He brought you here
For
because
what? He keeps calling me and harassing me.
Listen to me. He's known you a long time. I've met you now for about 15 minutes, and I don't think he's crazy. And I wouldn't precipitate phone calls and contact with you because I think that you're an angry lady. I think that you feel as if he jilted you, that he left you high and dry with your baby, and now he's got somebody else. All of those things, doesn't pay child support, you're not working, but that doesn't give you the right to have him arrested and make false allegations, which I believe that you did, and I'm awarding him $1,000 on his claim. That's all. By the way, she doesn't have your entertainment center.
Yes, she
That's
does.
all.
Your Honor, when we went there, the officers explained.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Roy versus Zamias. Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Blackman versus Miller Vaughn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who is Mr. Miller?
I am.
Would you sit down, Mr. Vaughn, please? And is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Mr. Blackman, this is an interesting case. I don't think I've ever tried one like this before. You knew the defendant.
I met him first time at our wedding, actually. He was a friend of a guest.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when you and the defendant arranged to have a young woman from the Philippines, who was, I believe, a cousin of your wife's,
Distant cousin, yes.
come to New York for the purposes of marrying him.
Yes, ma'am.
She came to the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't marry her.
No, ma'am, he did not.
And you want him to pay for all of the expenses that you incurred, which you say that he had agreed to pay. In addition, at some point, a check was given to you for $1,500, and then payment was stopped on that check, but that check was written by Mr. Vaughn at the defendant's request. So that's why he is a co-defendant. But he's really a nominal co-defendant. Okay, so when was your wedding, and when did you meet the defendant?
In February of '99, the defendant was at our wedding. A few days later, he came to a Valentine's dance party, and that's where I spoke to him about our site, FilipinoGirlsTours.com. I said,
No. Speak slowly, because we're missing it. You had a website?
Yes, ma'am, a small business. I met my wife through Pen Pal Club, and when she came over, she goes, I have many friends that would like to come too, so we put up a free Pen Pal site where people could get free addresses and phone numbers, stuff like that, and correspond. I don't know if he first saw that site, or I really don't know, but he came to our wedding, and then at the party he was there. And I said, well, you know, we do have a cousin of hers that's real cute on our site. Would you like to meet her? And he says, well, I'd be interested. So I gave him the contact information, the address, the phone number. She did not have email at the time. And from there, it progressed. They got to know each other well.
They got to know each other via mail.
Mail and phone, yes.
And
many phone calls. Okay. And he went over there on his own.
He went to the Philippines?
Yes.
And visited. That is correct. Mm-hmm. When did you go to the Philippines, sir?
It was April or May. I don't remember exactly what the date was.
Of 1999?
Yes.
Okay. And you went and you met this young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yes, when he returned, he relayed to me how happy he was, how he would treat her so nicely, that he really loved her. And he was very frustrated that they were never left alone this whole time. And in the Philippines, most girls are very chaperoned. This particular woman had never dated really in her life. Very, very sheltered. And I helped him with his paperwork to bring her over because we had just started our site and I wanted to get more experience in the fiancé visa part and what have you. So I did all of his paperwork for him.
What's a fiancé visa?
In order to bring a girlfriend, fiancé to the United States from another country, you must file paperwork with our government saying that you met her, prove that you met her, and that it's a legitimate relationship and you want to marry her. And you bring her over, you do all this paperwork.
Do you have a copy of that application?
I do not have a copy of his, per se.
I need a copy of his.
I do not. I have the form, but I have all the financial responsibility forms that he signed.
Can I see that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Saying that he would be responsible for her as long as she was here. Okay. I've highlighted the...
Okay, and you signed this financial affidavit, sir, on the 31st of August, 1999. Is that right?
I'd have to see it.
Sure.
Yes.
Good. So you signed a financial affidavit in August of 1999 agreeing to be financially responsible for this young lady when she came to this country.
Right. It said that I would be responsible so that she wouldn't be a burden upon our state.
That's correct, but that's only one of the affidavits that you signed. That's why I read the second one very carefully, which is, the first one says that you agree that she will never become a public charge while she's here. But the second affidavit that you signed, sir, says that a plaintiff may seek specific performance of my support obligation, and you acknowledge that any federal, state, local, or private agency that pays any means-tested public benefit or benefit on behalf of the sponsored immigrants has standing to sue you to meet my financial obligations. Okay, I got it. Now, when did the young lady come here?
She arrived on Friday, the 28th or 29th of January, I believe. The wife and I actually picked her up at the airport because the defendant said he could not get off work to pick her up. So we drove to Atlanta from Asheville, a considerable distance, picked her up, brought her that evening, left him at his apartment, where I even helped him move to. That night, they were alone. It was Super Bowl weekend. That Sunday, they came over. The girl was very, very upset with herself, what have you. Mr. Miller had talked her into giving up something very precious to her, which was her virginity, which is something these girls really hold proper to them. Because he had spent so much money to bring her here and so much effort, she figured, well, he's going to marry me, it's okay. The way things worked out, she found out she did not know we had loaned him the money to bring her here because that wasn't...
Now tell me about that loan.
Mr. Miller was in the process of moving, and I had gotten to know him a little bit, doing his paperwork for him and what have you, and he seemed to be a very nice fellow. So I helped him move, brought his washing machines over to my house to store because he didn't have a place to put them, things like that. After he moved, we picked up the girl, brought her to his house and what have you.
Tell me about the money.
Oh, the money. During this move, he's saying he had put deposits down for this, for the phone, for the apartment and everything, and he was very low on money. And I figured the girl's a cousin of my wife, so I said, would you like to have a loan to bring her here? I could loan you the money for the plane ticket as long as it did not take too long to pay me back. And he said, oh, I could pay you back in 90 days, no problem. I just started a new job.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket itself was, I don't know, he sent the money to her. I gave him $675 cash.
Is that correct? That he gave you $675 in cash?
No.
He never gave you any money?
No.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's in dispute. $675 in cash you gave him.
Yes, ma'am, and I even asked my wife if I could take it out of our savings account. She's a joint member of that account, and she said yes, because it was for her cousin. That'd be fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had loaned him the money. I picked him up the day before she was to arrive. He called me and said, I can't get off work. Could you please pick her up? I said, sure, be glad to. We went down, picked her up, brought her to the apartment that weekend.
Okay, then you told me about the problem
right
when she came to your house. All right.
Right.
Did he ever tell you that this wasn't going to work out?
The first indication I had of any problem was that Thursday, he did not show up one night. He kept on showing up later each night coming home, and Wednesday night he didn't show up at all. Thursday morning the girl called me, I picked her up, brought her home. That Thursday evening he called me, he didn't have keys to get into the apartment. He said, oh, I had to spend all night in the hospital with my son last night, and he gave me this story. His son was real sick and he stayed there, and so I met him at the apartment and told him how badly she was hurt. And he says, well, I love her, this is not going to happen. You know, let me get cleaned up, I'll come over. That was the last I saw him in person until our criminal court trial came up. He called me the next day and said...
What criminal court trial?
For the $1,500 check.
Oh, okay.
It was dismissed due to, it was a post-dated check.
Okay.
North Carolina laws.
When for the first time, I asked you, did he tell you that this was not going to work out?
He called me on the phone that week, I believe it was that Thursday evening, and said, I'm not going to marry her. And I said, well, why? And he says, well, that's personal, I'm not going to tell you. I've got to go out of town this following weekend. When I get back, I'll get with you. And he never did call back. Mr. Vaughn called me and said that he had a check that he had written to cover her expenses for her plane ticket, my loan, a small amount of living expenses until she went home. And I was to pick the check up at the apartment. Well, we didn't have a key. We couldn't get in.
Well, you must have said something to him about money. You owe me some money. You owe me the money that I gave you, $675,
actually,
and the return, and her return flight as well.
Right. It was actually him that volunteered the money at first to pay for her plane ticket home, because he knows this is a responsibility that he signed, that he is responsible for this woman, and if they do not get married after 90 days, he has to return her. It's an agreement he's made with the U.S. government.
Okay.
So he was aware of his obligation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carl and Lori Jen Blackman say former friend Chris Miller borrowed money to fly in his girlfriend from the Philippines. Chris says there was no agreement to pay the money back.
When did she go back to the Philippines?
It wasn't until September.
Why not?
Because, well, she was so ashamed of herself, and in the Philippines, and I do have evidence from doctors that treat women in the Philippines.
I'm not interested in that because it's really not germane. She's not here. She was, for emotional reasons, she didn't go back.
Right, and plus the check bounced. We could not get it to cover. 5 times I took it, it would not. Each time I took it to the bank itself, they said, I'm sorry, there's not enough funds, and then I ran it through my bank to have it stamped.
But that was $1,500, and that would have covered her return flight to the Philippines.
And my loan.
And your loan to him.
Yes, ma'am, and a small amount of living expenses for a week or 2.
So the whole thing was $1,500. So how did $1,500 become $5,000 that you're suing him for?
Well, we never could cash the check. It was never any good. So she stayed with us. She was real ashamed and didn't want to return home, and she did not have the money to return home because the check was canceled. And I had told Mr. Vaughn about a week after the check, when I first tried to cash it, I said, well, why isn't there any money there? And he said, well, my wife wrote a check. It'll be good in a couple of days. And I said, well, yeah, I think Cheryl may be staying a while anyways because she's very afraid about going home.
Okay. I got it. So the rest of this money, $3,500, is for her living expenses.
Basically, and attorney's fees, and we had to buy her clothes. She had no clothing other than summer clothing, and this was middle of winter, so we had to buy her clothing.
Well, she should have gone home immediately.
With what money?
With the money that you would have lent her and then sued them for the $1,500 and it would have been over with.
I don't have thousands of dollars in the bank.
This isn't fair. We're not talking thousands. We're talking about a return airplane ticket.
But it was Mr. Miller's responsibility to return her.
How much was the return air ticket?
When I returned her, it was $640, and it was during the low time of year. In January, it's a high travel time. It could be as much as $1,000 or more.
All right, Mr. Miller, let's hear it.
Well, went over there, met her, did all the paperwork and everything to bring her over here.
Paperwork.
Then in December, when I talked to her, I told her, I said, I don't think it's going to work.
You mean December before she got here?
Right.
Why did you tell her that in December?
Well, I had met my wife. We had dated, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago. And we had met, and we started seeing each other. And that's when I told her, I told Cheryl, I said, it's just not going to work.
So you told the young lady that you didn't think it was going to work out. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
She came here. Carl picked her up at the airport.
Well, when you told her in December that it wasn't going to work out, she hadn't been here yet. Why didn't you cancel these papers?
I didn't know what, she was already in Manila. I didn't know what to do.
You mean she had traveled to Manila in order to come here?
Yeah, you have to go to Manila. You have to go to the embassy in order to come to the United States.
The interview.
So she had already done the legwork there and was on her way here, and they had been using your papers to process her.
Right.
Okay. So you knew she was going to come?
Right.
In January.
Well, I told her not to come. She came anyway. Carl brought her to the apartment. I told her, I said, look, it's just not going to work out. I think it was like two or three nights I stayed there, and I think that was it.
Why did you have
sex? Don't speak. Mr. Miller, when she stayed at your apartment for 2 or 3 nights, did you share a room together?
Yes.
Why?
Because there's only bed. I didn't have a couch or anything. I just moved.
So you shared a bed together?
Yes.
While he was living with the
girl. Mr. Blackman, he was very quiet. You have to be very quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
What arrangements did you make to get her a return ticket to go home?
When me and her had split up, or she had left, went to Carl's house.
That was just a few days later.
Right. Carl had went around telling everybody he was going to have me for abandonment, had me put in prison, $12,000 fine.
Prove it.
Mr. Blackman,
know if he can
this
or
is
not.
the last time I say that to you, sir. The next time I dismiss your case. Do you understand? I control it here. It goes in an order. You, then him. Then if I have any questions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you used to controlling things?
Not really.
Uh-huh. Does your husband like to control things?
No. She wears the pants.
What?
She wears the pants.
I somehow doubt that. Go ahead.
So once I heard what he was trying to do, I didn't know what to do, so I called my congressman. They put me in touch with liaisons. I told her what was going on. I said, I need to stop the fiancé visa. She said, okay. Well, I talked to Carl. He said, look, you pay $1,500. It'll all be said and done. It'll be over with. I said, okay, fine. It'll be done. I'd closed out my account. Mark Vaughn, he was a good friend of mine. I said, you mind writing a check? I said, here's the money. He said, no problem. Gave him $1,500. Well, Carl Blackman, in the meantime, had called and told her he was going to sue me, that I was going to prison, that on the documentation it says that I am liable for everything. Well, told him no, he's not. He offered to give you the money to send her back. You told him no. You've told me no, that you're not going to send her back, and there's nothing you can do to him. So then that's when he tried to go to court, get us on a criminal offense, and then we're here.
So that you stopped payment on the check that you had given him?
Yes.
That's what happened?
Yes.
But you understand that you owe him this money?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, you do. And for no other reason, Mr. Miller, than because of your actions, this young lady traveled from the Philippines to the United States. Now, you may have told her a week or two before she got on that plane, while she had traveled to Manila, according to you, to begin this process, that it wasn't going to work out. And if it wasn't going to work out, then what you do when Mr. Blackman brings her to your home is put her in the car and you say, I'm bringing you back to Mr. Blackman's house. I told you this wasn't going to work out. You don't take her to your bed for a few nights and then return her. Bad sportsmanship. Not moral conduct. You don't do a test run with somebody that you know is not going to be a permanent part of your life, especially under the circumstances where you met her in the Philippines, which was on her turf. According to what the plaintiff tells me, which I believe, one of the frustrations that you had is that you were not alone very much because of her strict upbringing in her family. So she comes to a strange place, she comes to a strange home, she comes to a person that she's known for, what, a week or two? Is that all you knew her? I mean, other than the mail and the telephone calls.
I was over there about four or 5 days.
So it was less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
And she's vulnerable because she's here. She doesn't know anybody. I don't know how her English is, but she's certainly very vulnerable. And you took advantage of that. Bad show. And I can understand when Mr. Blackman says that there was an embarrassment that she had in going home right away. And she had to emotionally prepare herself to go home because she was going home different from the way she came. How old was she?
25.
And how old are you?
I just turned 35.
And you have a child.
Yes.
I see that from here. Were you married before?
Yes.
Once before?
Twice.
So you've been around the flagpole a couple of times,
I
as
guess you could
opposed
say
to this
that.
young lady.
I don't know if she had or hadn't. I would say not.
The only other expense that I haven't addressed is your attorney's fees. Now, you said you had attorney's fees.
Yes, we tried to change her visa so she could stay here without going
That's
home.
not his problem.
Yes.
That's your problem. That's her cousin. If you tried to change her visa,
Yes, ma'am.
then you're doing that out of the goodness of your heart. That has nothing to do with his relationship with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly believe that you are entitled to be reimbursed for certain of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly for the $1,500 plus your airfare. I believe that you did provide airfare both ways for this young lady. And I believe that she probably needed a period of adjustment before she went back.
Yes, ma'am.
Not she came 1 week and she goes back the next. Kind of embarrassing. But I would say, Mr. Blackman, that she's not here. I cannot inquire of her. But I would say a month or so should have been sufficient time for her to get over this and to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Did she stay with you the entire time?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. So on your claim, Mr. Blackman, I'm awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
The $1,500 that he was supposed to have given you, plus $1,000 a month for the month that I believe would have been sufficient time for her to prepare herself to go home. So on your claim, sir, I am awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
Didn't do the right thing, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yeah, this is case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Kearney Yawan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Lee, according to your complaint, the defendant was living in your home. You were living there with a friend of yours, and he was the friend's boyfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
And you claim that he started a fire in your home, caused substantial amount of damage. You want him to pay for all of the damage. The defendant's answer indicates that, well, it was an accident. And two, he fixed a lot of the damage, and there should not be anything that requires any professional attention. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Okay. When did this happen?
Well, it took place around February of 2000. It was close to midnight, where he had apparently started the fire by himself. And somehow he had used kerosene
and it got out of hand. He left a trail of kerosene from the front door to the fireplace. So when he started to light the fire, it trailed back, of course, to the front door on the hardwood floor as well.
You have pictures of the damage?
Yes, I do.
Were you in the house at the time?
Yes, I was.
The fire was extinguished so that nobody was hurt?
Correct.
Fortunately.
Fortunately,
okay.
Yes.
What's this dollar bill doing on your floor?
Oh, I had a friend took that, and he just put the dollar bill there just to focus in on the area.
I see. I assume that's the ceiling, smoke on the ceiling?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you light a fire with kerosene?
Well,
Oh, no, well, over here.
Okay.
Well is not an answer.
That's actually the part that is not true. I didn't try to light up the fireplace with the kerosene.
How did you light the fire?
Well, okay, the truth is that I think it's about on June last year, and it's not on February.
You needed a fire in June?
Yeah.
Was it very cold?
June 31st, yeah.
It was very cold. Where do you live?
In Seattle.
Even in Seattle, it's cold enough in the summertime that you have to light a fire?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it can get very cold, yeah. And I noticed at that time also it was raining outside.
What time of the day or evening did you light this fire?
Well, that's the thing that I'm not quite sure also. I've already totally forgot about this whole incident.
How many fires have you lit in your life that caused damage?
Yeah, that's...
How many? Is my question.
This is the first time.
Then I would remember it. Do you understand? You almost burned the house down.
Yes.
How did it happen?
Okay, I
Do you
have a
remember
drink.
how it happened?
Yes,
Sir?
I remember.
You remember clearly how it happened?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So at that time that it was late at night, and then I was setting up the fireplace, and then after that I go make myself a drink.
What time were you setting up the fireplace?
It's probably around 10 o'clock.
Didn't you have to get up early in the morning?
Yes, I do. Because that I thinking that I was just going to set up the fireplace for about an hour, and then after that I will
No, slowly, sir.
extinguish it.
You thought you were setting up the fireplace on what?
For about only an hour.
Fires don't last for only an hour.
Yeah, but I decided that later on I will just extinguish it myself and then go to bed because I have to work in the morning.
How'd the fire start?
Okay, like I said, that when I get up and then try to make a drink, I have this vodka on my hand, and then I lit up the fire. I didn't use any kerosene or anything. It was a dry wood, so I just started up the fire right away. And then approximately after about 15 minutes or so, I decided I need to go to the restroom. So I go to the fireplace, then put more wood into the fireplace. And then at that time, I put the glass with the vodka in front of the fireplace. And then I just totally forgot because that it's dangerous.
Had a little too much vodka.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Had a little too much vodka.
Yes.
There you go. I knew we were going to find the answer, sir, if we just kept going. So it wasn't an accident. It wasn't on purpose. It was caused by you having a little too much Stoli or whatever you were drinking.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you have to take care of the damage. Now, what did you do to take care of the damage?
Well, the next morning that I told...
Fire department came?
No, it didn't. Even though the fire alarm went off because of that.
No firemen came?
No. Your Honor, my son, the fireplace was about 10 feet away from his front bedroom door. And when he heard the alarm went off, he quickly went out. He went to the front yard, took the hose, and came in and hosed it down and extinguished it.
There was damage. Damage to the floors, damage to the door, damage to walls, soot. What did you do to fix all that?
Well, I told my ex-girlfriend that I feel responsible for setting up the fire, causing the fire.
Of course.
Yeah.
You are responsible.
And then I feel bad about it, and then I'm going to fix it. So the next morning, I didn't go to work, and then I start from the painting the front door because it got the smoke stain on that front door. And also after that, I also fixed the hardwood floor just by sanding it, and then.
Did you buy a sander?
No, just like the sandpaper.
That's not the way you fix a floor, sir. You don't take a little piece of sandpaper and just go over areas. You've got to do the whole floor.
Yeah. That's the thing is that because I noticed that only like there's like a small black stain on that hardwood floor caused by that fire.
So you just took a little piece of sandpaper and went over it.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you do?
And I also paint the ceiling, not the ceiling, but the wallpaper.
You painted over her wallpaper.
Mm-hmm. Only on the portion that got the smoke.
You're not a decorator, are you, by profession? Huh?
No.
I didn't think so. So that's what you did. You painted over the wallpaper, you took a little piece of sandpaper and you went over the floor in certain spots,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you painted over the front door. Now, before you painted over the front door, what did you do to get off the soot and the smoke and where it had been charred? Did you sand it down? Did you remove all the paint?
No, I didn't.
You just smeared a coat of paint over it.
That's right. I'm not a handyman, so.
When you cause damage to somebody else's property, sir, you may not be a handyman, but if you cause the damage, then you're supposed to get a professional to take care of it. You're not supposed to do it yourself. Let me see estimates of your damage. Do you have homeowners insurance?
Well, Your Honor...
Well is not an answer. My question is, did you have
No, I
homeowners
did
insurance?
not.
Why not?
At the time, I was changing insurance companies, and the 2 weeks had lapsed, and this incident took place during that 2 weeks.
Is this your own home?
Yes.
I want to see proof that you didn't have insurance. I want to see proof of that. Because you're not going to collect twice. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
I'm really smart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Lee says her friend's ex-boyfriend, Kiet Kerniawan, damaged her home when he started a fire with kerosene. Kiet says the damage occurred because he left his vodka next to the fireplace.
Now, we're going to bring me something from your insurance company indicating a lapse in coverage at a particular time. Do you have that information?
Yes, Your Honor. I managed to get a letter from the insurance company, as well as a copy of my current insurance, which will show that I started a new insurance as of July 13th, 2000.
And that's in Seattle, Washington?
Yes.
When did you purchase the home?
January of 2000.
How much did you purchase it for?
$240.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
What's the mortgage?
$189.
If you have a mortgage, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
The lender requires that you have insurance, and if you don't have insurance, they get insurance for you. So if you had to show proof at the closing that you had insurance, everybody knows that. What kind of business are you in?
I'm a mortgage consultant.
You got it. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor. But my home had closed in January, beginning of January, and then I had wanted to switch insurance company after it had closed. And I was hoping that the lender would not find out, which they didn't. So I did go ahead and get insurance with a different company as of July the 13th.
So what you're telling me is you fraudulently misrepresented to your lender that your premises was insured. Is that right?
No, it was insured at the time of the closing, Your Honor.
Well, at the time of the closing in January, if it was insured in January, it would have been insured in February, when you say the fire took place.
I wanted to change insurance company, so I had canceled it.
Well, that's not his problem. He had an accident in your house. If you had insurance, which you should have had, then you would have been totally covered. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I fixed it. And I actually told my ex-girlfriend that I will fix it.
Don't you let your insurance lapse.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Durham versus Creech, step forward, please.
18-year-old baseball player Justin Durham is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old waitress Kara Creech, for the return of an engagement ring. Kara is countersuing for the return of her class ring.
Mr. Durham, you and the defendant were engaged to be married. It didn't work out. You want the engagement ring back.
That's right.
Ms. Creech says that you have some property of hers, you have a class ring, and there are some other expenses that she believes that are your responsibility as a result of this failed wedding. She is counterclaiming. She said you didn't pay for these rings yourself. There was some down payment made by her mother. So when did you become engaged?
Well, it was about 4 months ago.
Look at me.
I had asked her mom to help me with $100 to make the down payment on the ring. So she did. With no more than 3 days later, I gave her a crisp $100 bill.
Did he give you back the $100?
Yes, he just didn't pay the 10. I gave him 110, that was all.
Fine, so that's a wash. So that's taken care of. So other than the down payment, initially, you paid for the ring?
Right.
So 4 months ago, are you laughing? Is this funny?
No.
Good. 4 months ago, you became engaged. And for how long were you engaged?
For about five months.
1 month.
Just a second. Mr. Durham, I'm not very good at math. If you became engaged 4 months ago and you were engaged for 5 months, then we're talking about Back to the Future. Do you understand? How long were you engaged?
About a month and a half.
And what happened?
She cheated on me.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so as a result of that, you say the engagement was broken.
Right.
You broke the engagement.
No, she did.
Can I see the ring, please? Who has the receipt for the ring?
I do.
I want to.
Can I see both, please? Okay. How much did you pay for this ring?
$549.
No. You have a ring and then there's a bridal set.
I have the other piece. It was a set. It wasn't a separate piece.
Well, it's billed separately, sir. One says $371 and the other item was $128. So, here we have the engagement ring. Now, is the engagement ring $371? Let's get it together, please. I mean, this is not, I've got a secret. Would you answer me?
Yes.
Yes, what?
The ring was $400.
$371.
$371, sorry.
Where's the other piece of this, the $128 set? You have that?
Right.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Very nice. And I see it's a nice little set because one of these things fits in here like this. I don't know how it does it. I'm never very good at that. There you go. Very pretty. Okay. So here's this piece back. Now, he gets them both. Engagement ring. Engagement's off. Engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. No more engagement. He gets the ring back. Return them. Sell them. Contemplate them. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Do you have her class ring?
Yes, I do.
Where is it? Perfect. Look how easy this is going to be. It's going to be a piece of cake. Class ring. He gets the receipts. She gets the class ring.
Got it.
Perfect. Now she's got a class ring back. Now, miscellaneous wedding expenses that you think he should pay for. You say you broke off this engagement.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Because I have a 1-year-old son and I am not putting what he does around my son. He came to my house one night and he was high and he was drunk.
Okay. And you thought it was a bad idea?
Yes.
So you broke off the engagement. And you have a wedding dress and some little wedding expenses.
Yes.
Then you made a good choice. You pay for those. You should have thought twice about becoming engaged to somebody that you knew for a relatively short period of time. Right?
Yes.
So consider yourself very lucky. Dye your engagement dress another color. Yellow. Use it again. And if he was the wrong person for you, it's a very cheap price. Right?
Yes.
Good luck. Everybody's got their property back? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 190 on the calendar in the matter of Sheftel versus DeRosa. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks have seats.
Don't bring out, don't touch anything. Mr. Sheftel, according to your complaint, you are in the business of making customized chocolates.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant had been a customer of yours for some time.
Yes.
There came a time when she ordered a customized item.
Correct.
Which you claim you delivered to her, put on a credit card.
Correct.
She stopped payment on the credit card and returned the chocolate.
Yes.
You say there was nothing wrong with the product and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
Mr. Rosa says the product was defective and delivered late, right?
Yes, my horse looked deformed.
Okay. How long had she been a customer of your business?
About 5 or 6 years.
With no problem?
Never had a problem.
What kind of customized chocolates had she ordered previously?
The coins, I brought these to show you. They're customized chocolate coins with an imprint with her company or horse's name on them.
Fine.
And she ordered by the thousands.
And what was this customized order that she made when she returned the order?
Okay, she had placed an order for thousands of chocolate coins. She came to pick them up on Valentine's Day, one of my busiest days of the year. While she was picking them up, she was on her way to a horse show. She asked if there was anything new that we're doing. You know, she's always interested in something different. And I showed her the photo chocolates that we do. That is an imprint of, you give us a photograph and we make it into the chocolate and the whole thing is edible. She was all excited. She happened to have with her a picture of her horse, which is on the back of a phone card that she gives out as a promotional item. She gave it to me.
Can I see it, Byrd?
I went
Sure.
into the back, and I said, if you want, I'll make one up real quick for you. I can do that. So I went into the back, and I made one very quick for her, just to give her an idea. This is the exact sample that I made for her.
Let me see.
No, I ate the sample. I have an eating disorder. I ate the sample.
Listen, Mr. Rosa, don't speak until I speak to you.
Sorry.
Don't look back there. Look here. Don't forget. Don't speak. Okay, so this, you say, is the sample you made for her.
Yes, here, this is the finished product that we actually shipped out, several hundred of these.
Okay.
And you can take them out of the box if you'd like.
Just a minute. I don't want to take them out of the box. Okay. Okay. How many of these did she order?
200.
And what was the price?
The total came to $562.50.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The chocolates are done individually handmade, so it's not like they're done through a machine and they're all identical. They're all done by hand. Okay. We take the picture that she gave us, which you have, and we make a master sheet of them.
Listen to me. I don't plan on going into the chocolate business.
Okay.
So I'm not interested on how you do it and whether it's a good product or not good product. Listen carefully. Okay. Byrd, don't eat the chocolate. That's the evidence. When did you ship out this chocolate?
The chocolate was shipped out exactly 1 week later on the 20th, and it arrived in Arizona where she needed it the next day on the 21st at 9:25 and arrived in signed for at 11:19 in Scottsdale.
Okay, she got it.
She got it within a week.
Good.
I get a call from her. She said she didn't get it in time. I said, well, what do you mean you didn't get it in time? We shipped it out. Well, she said she needed it for a party. I said, well, I was never told that you needed it for a party. This was a last-minute order. We told you we'd get it there by the end of next week. So I knew nothing about the show. That was the first thing. Then she said, well, she didn't like the way they looked. I said, well, what's wrong with them? And I never really got a correct answer from her.
Okay, let me find out. There's no question that you received the goods on the 21st of February,
Yes.
and there's no question that you stopped payment on your credit card of $562.50.
Yes.
Okay, now explain to me why.
We went in, as you said, and I'll make this very brief. He showed us the chocolates. I gave him this card, which you have in your hand. I said, could I have a sample? The reason why I brought up the eating disorder, he brought it, and I wanted to keep the sample, but we ate it on the way to Scottsdale because there's no way that chocolate can last around me. So I said to Frank, it was beautiful. I said, Frank, please make this up for the show. He sent them a day late, which I said, okay.
Just a minute. It was exactly a week later that you received them, which seems totally reasonable. So the time is not the issue.
The issue is we go through great lengths to put my horse in the best light possible. On this Visa receipt, we not only have the chocolates, but we have the gold coins. The only thing I took out of this was the chocolates, and if you look at them, it makes my horse look deformed.
Well, let me see them.
The very reason,
Just a second.
to do this is to promote something and give this to people. And I don't know if he's changed the chocolates, kept the chocolates.
These are the exact chocolates.
He didn't make new chocolates.
No,
Can I see the box,
They were shipped
please?
back. And I want to point
Can
out
I
there were
see?
2 boxes that were shipped. She shipped back the second box with never even opened it when she got it. It was completely closed the way we sent it.
All right, let's take a look at some of these randomly, all right?
And he never said they were each one was separate and they would have a different look, or I wouldn't have done it.
Well, let me ask you this question. Could you take a look at this one and tell me what's wrong with it?
All right, well, what I wanted to start to say was the chocolate... Okay.
Just look.
Yes.
Tell me what's wrong with that.
You have a little bit on the picture there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a little bit of a discoloration. What I wanted to start to say was these chocolates were shipped from the candy factory in North Hollywood to Arizona. They went from Arizona, I don't know how, to Solvang, and then shipped back from Solvang to the candy factory 3 weeks later. So they left. I packed them myself. They were great. I don't know what condition they were traveled by. This is perishable chocolate. Considering all the travel they
Well, then let me see. Is that the box that came back unopened?
Yes, I opened it before we came here to make sure.
May I see that
Yes.
box, please?
And it says on the side of the box.
Just a second. I don't care where it went to, before or after, or whatever else. This one she opened. This one,
And she
according
removed
to
10 of those bars also and sent it back.
This one, according to you, she did not open.
Correct.
And it came back to you unopened.
Correct.
So she just opened the first one, took a look at them, saw some that were defective.
That's what she says.
Well, I see some that was defective. Here you say it may have happened later.
Correct.
So let's take a look randomly at some of these. Byrd, take out some of these for me. Help me out here, would you? I went to law school for this.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chocolate maker Frank Sheftel says Timmy DeRosa refuses to pay for the custom-made chocolate she ordered. Timmy says the chocolates were deformed.
Okay. Could you tell me why this makes your horse look deformed?
Well, this particular one doesn't. This one is faded. Would you hand this to somebody if this was the Judge Judy thing, a gavel, and your whole gavel was halfway off?
I wouldn't give somebody a picture of myself that they could eat.
Well, you know what?
And that's the point. These are edible. In 2 minutes, they're gone.
Then don't have beautiful ones to show.
Are you talking to each other? Don't irritate me. This case is irritating me enough.
You cannot hand these out. There's some of them where their eyes are popped, where their eyes are bulgy. This is faded. You can't give this to somebody. These are multi-$1,000 horses. His stud fee's $3,000. We ship semen all over the country.
Could I please have that back? Listen, what I don't understand, Miss, I'm speaking. Mr. Sheftel, something that I don't understand from a business perspective. Thank you. She's absolutely right that they're faded. But shh, I'm speaking. They're all faded.
6 months old.
No, they're all faded. I have no idea what they looked like before, but certainly these are faded. I don't see that they're deformed, but this isn't an oil painting. This is done in chocolate. What I don't understand from a business perspective, Mr. Sheftel, is this was a customer of yours for 6 years.
Yes.
So if she says she's dissatisfied with this part of one order that she made, it seems to me good business practice would be to say, I'll take the chocolate, I'll either eat it, or I'll mix it up in a vat, or I'll make new chocolate out of it, or I'll do something with it, but I'm not going to lose a customer of 6 years over one order. So explain that to me, because I come from a retail family, and I don't understand
So do
that.
I. The candy factory's been in business for 23 years.
This is not an advertisement for
No,
you,
I
sir.
understand
So
that, but what I'm
explain
trying
me-
to say is we don't put out an inferior product. What you're seeing here is chocolate that is now 7 months old, okay? And it fades. Chocolate, as you know, fades. These were in prime condition. Maybe there was something wrong with the shipping. Maybe they were left in the sun. I don't know. When they were shipped back to me, I opened them, I looked at them. There was nothing wrong with them.
Listen, what would be the reason for the defendant, she had been a good customer, to order them and then send them back to you? She clearly liked what you did. She came to your place. She ordered it offline.
She's called me since then to place another order. She called me 2 months ago to place an order.
No, what I said is do them right, and I will buy them.
No, your husband called me and asked me if he could place an order, and I said, we still have
An
this
order
outstanding.
for what?
For more chocolates.
No.
Hey! For what kind of chocolate?
We didn't even get that far.
Okay, because you said you still have this outstanding issue.
And another point I'd like to make is, she says that I could give them out as samples. I've shown them to people, actually. I do show them. I have one in the case. I think there's nothing wrong with them.
They're faded. Shh. They're faded and they're not great. And your customer didn't like them. I believe that she acted in good faith by returning them almost immediately. She said, I don't like the way they look.
It wasn't immediately. She took 10 or 15 out of one of the boxes.
Just a minute, did you take any out of the box?
When the boxes actually got there, everyone looked through them, and then they said, look, this one's deformed, this one's deformed, and the person that does the advertising.
Answer my question.
I don't know if there may be some out of the boxes that we handed out.
Well, then you pay for half. You can't use some. I don't care if you use 5 or 10 or 15 and say, I don't want the rest. The rest are no good.
No, that's not the point at all. That is not what happened at all.
That's exactly what happened.
No, it's not. Actually, I showed people how deformed they were.
And you didn't put them back. If you showed them how deformed they were and you didn't put all the items back because somebody took them, somebody ate them.
I told you then.
Don't talk to him.
No, I told
Talk
Frank
to me.
then. I told him then. I said, count them when you get them. I would not go to hell over $20.
So some people did take some.
No, not as a promotional item.
I don't care what they took them as.
No, I did not hand them out. They were at the barn. And I said, we cannot use them. Look at this. And everyone said, these look awful. We called Frank. I had no...
Madam, you're not answering my question. I don't care whether you used them as a promotional item or whether you gave them away as Christmas presents or you gave them to the Easter Bunny. Somebody ate them, and it wasn't him. Okay, as I said to you, and I'm not going to waste another second on this case, I think it's very bad business to sue a good customer. But I also think that you can't accept partial order, use some of the partial order, send the other one back without even having opened it, and say, they're probably all no good. So, listen to what I'm telling you. You see the box that you didn't open? That's this box, Byrd? Which box didn't she open? That one?
Yep.
And we took a whole bunch out of this, right?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Quiet! I don't want to hear another thing. I got important business to take care of. There. You see that box? This came from here. This one is his order. That one is his sample. You see that box? Give it to her. She just bought half an order. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He usually makes excellent products, and this time he didn't, and that's a shame.
It's a reflection of the horse. That's what the horse looks like. If it's deformed, it's because the horse is deformed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cole versus Watts. Step forward, please.
23-year-old business owner Mariah Cole is suing her former employee, 27-year-old Rebecca Watts, for the cost of her merchandise. Mariah says when Rebecca returned a starter kit of adult toys, some of the products were missing.
Miss Cole, can you explain the kind of business that you run to me?
I run an adult novelty and home party business.
What is adult novelty?
We go into homes and hold parties for adults with lotions and potions and vibrators.
That kind of adult party?
Yes.
I didn't understand. I really didn't understand what that was from your complaint. And according to your complaint, the defendant wanted to be part of your business. And I gather that the way your business works is there's a starter kit that costs $250 that has a sampling of all the merchandise.
Correct.
And people take the starter kit, which they pay for, and then proceed to have house parties with other people and sell it, sort of like what we used to do with Tupperware.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Only high-tech Tupperware.
Right.
Okay. Your complaint alleges, and the defendant concedes, that she was interested in making some extra money, decided to try this business, took a starter kit from you, and your understanding was that she would not give you the $250 right up front, but would host her parties, and a percentage of the money that she received she would give to you as in for payment for the starter kit as it went along. Is that right?
Yes.
And you did host some parties?
I hosted 2.
But they were not particularly successful?
Correct.
You decided you no longer wanted to be in business?
Correct.
And according to you, she did not return the starter kit in the same condition as you gave it to her?
Correct.
You want the $250 for the starter kit?
Yes.
So, that's the case. I'll hear you.
Okay. I brought her back the kit, and she told me that there were some items missing out of it. And one of the items was broke, which I knew that the lid on one of the items was broke. 2 of the items, which was some order forms and a whip, I did have in my car because I was in the process of moving. I had taken the kit over to my friend's mother's house to keep it there while I was moving so nothing happened to it. When she told me what items were missing, I knew for sure the 2 items that she said was missing were in there whenever I got the kit from her house, because even her mother and her saw the items in there because one of them was leaking and she took it out and cleaned it.
What did you leave this kit at your friend's house for?
I was in the process of moving and I was trying to get it over to her house.
Why didn't you just bring it over to her house right away?
I was trying to get all my stuff to storage and then move it over to her.
Yeah, but according to your answer, you left the kit at your friend's house and they took out the kit to look at and were fooling around with it.
Yeah, her mom was curious.
I mean, if she's going to use this starter kit again, it has to be in the exact same condition as you got it.
Right. I offered to pay her for the items that was broke, and the one item, the one potion stuff that was in there that she said wasn't in there. I didn't know what happened to that. So I offered to pay her for the items that were broke and the one item that was missing. And then I told her I had the other items, and then that's when she decided that she just wanted the money for the whole kit.
What did the kit look like when it came back to you?
When I received the kit back, there were items missing. The items that were missing entailed the bull whip, 1 of a set of 2 C-rings, 10 catalogs, making love oil, flavors strawberry and champagne, order forms, the diving dolphin, good head.
I don't even want to ask what that is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There were also some of the bags that were missing, and erasers, which we use as tasters at our shows. The eager beaver, which appeared to be used. The pleasure mitt that appeared to be used, which is true because we do arm massages at our parties. So that may have been used, but we would have appreciated that to have been cleaned up before she returned it to us. And then the tickle and taste was broke.
I have to make this simple, and I have to let these people go. Right, Byrd? As fast as possible.
It's getting a little warm.
Right?
Here.
And you thought your wife was going to Tupperware parties. Okay. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that the reason you have a starter kit is the starter kit, I assume, is going to get used in the process of selling product. Because that's what it is. It's passed around. But the starter kit was new when it was given to you. Is that right?
Correct.
And the expectation was that you were going to use it in your business. Well, you can't return a used kit.
But she had told me that I could. That's why, or else I would have paid her up front if she would have told me I couldn't bring it back from the beginning.
Well,
She
did
told
you
me,
have
just
it-
go ahead and bring the kit back and don't worry about it.
Well, maybe she
So-
didn't know that you had used all these things in the kit. I mean, if you're returning it in the condition that she gave it to you, then she's absolutely right. Return the kit. If it's in the same condition as the one I gave to you, fine. But if she has somebody else who comes to her and wants to enter into a business relationship, she can't give them that kit. She can't. You're probably better off out of the business anyway. How much money did you make?
Maybe $40 off one show.
$40.
Yeah, it was more time consuming than anything.
Oh, you're entitled to your kit fee. You have the kit?
Yes.
Where is it?
Part of it is here and part of it is out there.
Okay,
with
but
us.
you have the kit. I don't
Yes.
want to see it.
Okay.
She just bought it.
Okay.
Okay? So you're going to give the kit to her and do with it what you will. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Thank you.
You may step out. This is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Rosales versus McKean. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Rosales, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your former boyfriend, and you went on a trip this past summer to Mexico.
Correct.
About a month afterwards, you broke up with, or he broke up with you. It was a mutual thing. I don't know. You broke up. And you claim that he still owes you for some expenses from the trip.
Correct.
He says he does not. How long were you away?
We were away for a month.
How could you get away for a month? You have a good job?
No, I don't have a job. I just saved up money 2 years in advance, and I sold my stock to go on this trip.
Had you been working before you went on the trip?
Yes. My last job ended in November, but I'm a full-time student, so.
Were you working?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in retail management.
And you could take a month off from your job?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, what was the arrangement?
We were going to go away for 1 month, July 10th to August 8th, and I was going to bring my own money. He was going to bring his. I brought $1,000 in traveler's checks and $1,000 in cash. About a week prior to us leaving, he told me he wasn't going to have enough money, and he wanted to know if he could borrow my credit card. And I asked him how he was going to pay for it. He told me that he was going to sell his stock when he returned. I knew that his portfolio had more than max on my credit card, so I knew that he was good for that amount of money. I agreed. We went on the trip, and we pretty much paid for everything 50-50. For like hotels, I would pay for my half in cash. He would pay for his half on the credit card. Everything else was 50-50. We made a conscious effort to do it that way so we wouldn't take each other's money. We came back August 8th. A little bit afterwards, I asked him how his stock was doing. It dropped dramatically, and he told me that because his stock dropped, he didn't have enough money and he wasn't going to pay me.
No. Sarah had been begging me for the last year before we went on the trip. Please, babe, can we go on a trip? I just want to go somewhere this summer.
Don't get dramatic with me. Don't get dramatic.
Anyway, she knew that if I went on a trip for a month, I'd lose a month in pay from work. So before we went on the trip, she knew I couldn't afford.
Don't tell me what she knew. I want you to tell me what you talked about.
I was going to bring some of my own money and pay for whatever I could. And she'd take care of the rest because she knew I couldn't do it otherwise.
No, just a second. There's a difference between what you believe she knew and what you discussed. Do you understand? So I want to know what discussion you say took place before you went with regard to using her credit card.
Well, it was her credit card, and I wasn't going to be paying for it.
It's a lie.
I was going to pay for whatever I could afford to pay for.
No.
Okay.
With the money I brought.
Don't speak. When did your money run out?
I'd say about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks into the trip.
That sounds unlikely, sir. That means that there were only a few days left that you relied on the credit card. Is that what you're saying?
Well, she was using the credit card.
Let us say you went to a hotel. You stayed in a hotel for 28 days, various hotels. How were the hotels paid for, Mr. McKeon?
I paid for what I could in cash, and she'd charge it on her credit card or pay for it in cash with her money.
So what you're telling me is the hotel bills were, for the most part, paid in cash?
No.
Shh. So how were they paid?
Well, some of it was paid for in cash.
Yes.
I don't really remember.
What about your meals, sir?
I paid for some of the meals, and she paid for some of them.
Were any of the meals paid for with a credit card?
Yeah.
How did you contribute to those meals that were paid on the credit card?
Well, she would pay for those because I'd pay for a meal one day or for lunch, and she'd pay for a meal for dinner.
So what you're saying, Mr. McKeon, is that for the vast majority of this trip, you paid your own way?
Yeah, definitely.
That's not what you say in your answer, Mr. McKeon, that you signed and that you swore to. You said, I had very limited money. She really wanted to go and offered to pay for all the accommodations and any additional expenses incurred on the trip. All I could afford to pay for was my plane ticket and some spending money. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah, but...
Well, that's what you swore to, sir. And I assume that when you wrote this answer, you reflected on it, and in this answer you said you paid for your plane ticket and brought some spending money, but that she had agreed to pay for all of your accommodations and any other additional expenses on the trip. Now, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's true, Your Honor.
So you did not pay with your money for 3.5 weeks when you were on the trip. And then, as you just told me a moment ago, just a few days we used on her credit card. That wasn't true.
No, I helped out when
now
I
let me
could.
see. Now let me see your bills.
There's a breakdown, and also I have, this is one of the payments that was made. He made 2 payments to me. He made one payment to me of $40 so I could repay my mother back.
50.
Your Honor, that was
no,
just
and
to help
another
her
payment
out.
of,
I was just trying to help her
and
out.
another payment of $50 that I paid to the credit card.
Your Honor, she told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job and make payments on the credit card,
How
and it wouldn't
can
be
I?
a
When
problem.
No, don't speak to him. I want to hear him. GB, I want to hear him. Go ahead, let me hear.
She told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job to cover the expenses, to pay the credit card debt off, and it wouldn't be a problem. And then when we got back, she started asking me for money. Please help me with this, you know, I can't afford to pay this. And I said, well, you were going to get a job.
How much do you earn at your job?
Approximately $800 a week.
You support anyone other than yourself?
No.
You have an apartment?
Yeah.
You pay rent?
Yeah, I have roommates, though.
Good. What's your share of the rent?
About $600.
I never heard anybody describe their rent as about $600.
You either know it or you don't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sarah Rosales says ex-boyfriend Sean McKean promised to pay his share of a month-long vacation in Mexico.
Go ahead.
My witness here, my roommate, she heard him say that he was going to pay for it.
He's going to pay for it. Go away on a vacation for a month. You don't go away with any money.
I did bring money.
Did you bring just a second? Did you bring a credit card?
No.
Why not?
I don't have a credit card.
Why not?
I don't like credit cards.
What do you like?
I've run up debt before.
What?
I've just had bad experiences with credit cards. I don't like them.
You have stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks are good.
Not lately.
I understand that. So you don't like to sell the stocks when they're down, except when you owe money.
I don't owe money.
Yeah, you do.
Whatever.
Yeah, you do. But you have a problem, Ms. Rosales, and I'm going to tell you what your problem is. It's clear to me the following. You went away with $2,000. You say his portion of these bills, which total together are $3,300.
Correct.
That would mean that if you double that, it would be $6,600.
Yes, he also purchased things on my credit card just for himself. He bought himself a surfboard. When we went to Chichen Itza to climb the pyramids, he bought like $200 in souvenirs.
I have a list of things that I know for sure that he bought for himself. He bought swim trunks. He bought just different things for himself that I didn't buy.
Did you buy anything on these credit cards, sir, just for your own personal use?
I bought a pair of swimming trunks, yeah.
What about a surfboard?
Yeah, I bought a surfboard because it would have been cheaper to buy a surfboard than rent one at the place we were at.
How much was it?
It was like $200.
No, it was $388.59. This is just of what I know that he bought for sure. There's other souvenirs that he has his whole room's full of souvenirs. I mean, he bought all of Mexico.
Well, on the credit card?
Yes, like he bought the surfboard at the hotel. So it
I
looks
see.
like a hotel stay, like that we stayed there, but he bought it there. Swim trunks, souvenirs is also.
Sounds to me if you don't have enough money, sir, that you watch surfboarding on TV instead of paying $388 for a surfboard.
That's no fun, though, Your Honor.
I didn't have enough money to buy myself souvenirs.
Miss Rosales.
So, sorry.
Yes, you
Miss
did.
Rosales,
You bought
do not-
$2,000.
Shh. Hey, he owes you money.
Yeah.
However, you don't escape without a tongue lashing. If you're being stupid, don't expect me to be sympathetic. You don't give a boyfriend a credit card. Ever. No way. Nothing. You don't give anybody a credit card, especially somebody that you are not related to by blood or marriage or committed to by virtue of an engagement. Even then, it's dumb and stupid. So you don't get any awards for brains.
I understand that, but I have loaned him money before and he's paid me back, so I had no reason not to trust him.
But I don't know how much he owes you.
It's $3,305.
I don't know or anything.
And 2 cents.
Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. I guarantee you, as good as you think you were on this trip, you weren't. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wanted the money because she bit off more than she could chew.
I'm just ecstatic that she didn't believe him.
Pretty girls get away with everything. Justice was not served.
He's so full of it. He's just unbelievable.
Xin chào mọi người, hôm nay mọi người lại cùng mình tô tranh nhé. Hôm nay mình có một con chuột, mọi người hãy cùng mình tô nhé. Đầu tiên mình sẽ tô màu đen. Tiếp theo mình sẽ tô cái áo màu đỏ. tiếp theo mình sẽ tô màu vàng. Sau đó là mình sẽ tô đôi giày. Mình sẽ tô đôi giày màu nâu. Mình sẽ tô miệng màu đỏ. Vậy là chỉ với ít phút thì mình đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh của ngày hôm nay. Các bạn hãy cho mình biết ý kiến của các bạn về bức tranh này nhé. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở video tô màu tiếp theo. Các bạn có quan tâm đến chủ đề nào thì hãy comment cho mình biết để mình hướng dẫn các bạn tô nhé. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn.